Heard about how the Egyptian plagues correspond to Egyptian gods, I think you'll like this presentation. It will probably stimulate your mind more than your heart, seeing God doing some apologetics in the book of Exodus. Sometimes we miss out on some of the genius points of the Bible.
I'm sure
when we
God
look at-
was quite surprised that what he's doing is apologetics here. He's just like, I'm just fighting the gods of Canaan. What do you mean apologetics?
little about the environment of the writer and of the original readers. God's point here is that all the Egyptian gods, which had been worshipped for centuries, were so inferior and powerless against the Almighty God of Moses. Before we dive into today's material, I would like to give you a short historical overview of Egypt. At about 10,000 BC, we see the people lived along the Nile. The river Nile was life-giving, as it is still today. Most of Egypt is desert. About 5500 BC, we have what is called the pre-dynastic period, where the archaeological evidence becomes more abundant. We see evidence of small settlements, organized agriculture, even larger building constructions. They were actually using mortar at this time. At 3000 BC, the first dynasties emerge. Egypt is a unified state and has a king, the Pharaoh. They develop a quite advanced writing system. 2500 BC, the Great Pyramids were built, quite near Cairo, the modern capital of Egypt. At 2000 BC, Abraham visited Egypt. Maybe also he saw the pyramids. I guess he would. They were antiques. They were famous, as was the Sphinx. After about 400 years of slavery, Moses was raised in Egypt. He learned all the tips and tricks at Pharaoh's court. Egypt was a world power at this time. Quite advanced culture, medicine, even brain surgery. Later, 1000 BC, King David's son, he married Pharaoh's daughter, so there was an alliance there. At 600 BC, the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Persians took over Egypt for about 300 years. In 2 Kings 23, we read that Pharaoh Necho killed one of the kings of Judah. All the way through the Old Testament, there's a connection to Egypt. Egypt is actually mentioned in 30 of the Old Testament books. Then in 300 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, and there were Greek pharaohs for about 300 years, until 30 BC when the Romans took over Egypt. So after a long time with Greek pharaohs, ending with Cleopatra, there was Roman administration over Egypt at the time when Jesus visited Egypt. There are lots of artifacts that have been dug up. Many of the amazing things produced even 5,000 years ago have survived. This can really help both our knowledge about ancient Egypt, but also to illuminate the biblical times. The same goes for other stuff in the field of biblical archaeology. Back to Exodus, that's the Greek word for departure. It's time to exit Egypt. It started with the descendants of Abraham crying out to God, and he listened, as God always does. Pharaoh was asked to let the Jews go, but he didn't want to do that. The result of his stubbornness was 10 plagues. Now, why? Well, both to answer Pharaoh's taunt, he said, "Who is this God?" and also to impress the Jews and the surrounding nations for many centuries to come, as we can read in the Old Testament. Pharaoh could have stopped all of it, but he hardened his heart, and he chose not to. Anyway, God triumphed over Pharaoh,
What do
over
you mean he
Egyptian
hardened his
gods.
heart? God
Every plague was a
hardened
direct
Pharaoh's
insult
heart.
to the gods of Egypt.
Like, that's something I don't understand how people just gloss over. It's like, did Pharaoh really have any free will in the matter?
No, I agree with you. That's something that's always bothered me. Bothered me first time through when I read it when I was 8 years old. It's like, well, Pharaoh wanted to do the right thing, and then God changed. God said he couldn't. It's like, well, I don't think I can blame Pharaoh then. Tag.
Is that implying that like God can control people like some sort of like mind slave?
Well, if he's God, how could what why wouldn't that be a possibility?
Well, not that's not a possibility, but it just seems like that kind of defeats the whole point of being God,
Well, yeah, but that's one of many, incidences that God does in the Old Testament and such that you sit there and wonder, is this worthy of somebody being God? Again, ordering genocide being one of them. Tag.
Yeah, and so, meanwhile, the man behind the curtain, it's Yahweh. It's just not the Yahweh that everyone was expecting. But anyway, let's see where are we here.
And finally, they were all allowed to leave. And this has been celebrated yearly with rituals in the Jewish community. In Exodus 12:12, God is saying, "Against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgments. I am Yahweh." So that is why he
I am
chose
Yahweh
those
and the
10
only
plagues,
way.
as we will see in a few minutes. God said he would perform wonders. Sometimes we call them plagues. God did several wonders, including the burning bush that didn't burn down, Moses' staff turning into a snake, and so on. But here we'll focus on the 10 plagues starting in Exodus 7. They have been grouped into 3 sets of 3 plagues, plus a final one. As the first in each group, that is plague number 1, 4, and 7, they came with a warning, but the last in each group, that is number 3, 6, and 9, they came without a warning. Now let's look into how the 10 plagues correspond to Egyptian gods. Now 6 and 9, they came with a group, that is number 3, 6, and 9, they came without a warning.
Interesting.
Now let's look into how the 10 plagues correspond to Egyptian gods.
Wait, so
as Yahweh.
it seems like the 10th would have been one of the ones without the warning. I don't know what he's getting at. But, I mean, right, because like it seems like why would you warn about the 10th one if there's nothing he can do to change it?
Well, what he's saying there is that there's a pattern for each of the group of threes, and the 10th one, the firstborn, is one that it doesn't fit into that pattern for whatever reasons. Okay.
Yeah, let's see. So I mean, it seems like in some ways you have let's see. So light. So it's interesting. So this pestilence that's mentioned in 5 is actually like pestilence of the, from what I understand, of the animals. So it's almost like I don't. It's almost like you have this idea of exterior versus interior disease. So like here you could view the exterior as the lice, the interior as the blood. Because it's like the inner, the lifeblood of Egypt being turned against it. So like here you have this idea of like the body turning against itself. Then you have this idea of like swarms or like animals and frogs. Then with lice, it's almost like this idea of that first idea, but from without. Then you have flies going also to the idea of where was I going with this? Like the swarm kind of connecting to the frogs here, the flies and the frogs. Then the pestilence would maybe be like the lice, because it's afflicting from outside. And then you have boils, which is basically the body's own inflammation, so it's from within. And then here you have hail, locusts, and darkness. And so it's almost like maybe hail would be, okay, so locust would be the like swarm here. The hail would be like the like attack from without, and then the darkness would be from within, because you could argue, oh well, causing the sun to go out, but in a sense, is it like, does it functionally matter if the sun's going out or if people are just unable to see? It's like, what if their eyes just stopped working? Like, what if everybody's eyes just stopped working? Functionally, how would anyone know the difference between? Because the idea, I mean, we're not going to get to that yet, but from what I remember, it's not as simple as you could have just lit up something and then you'd be able to see. Like, there's this idea that the darkness was like permeating, like that you couldn't just see through the darkness with light, that the darkness was almost a substance. But I don't know. Also, Zero, you can hop in if you want. The link's over here. And also hope you're feeling better. And I know you're feeling kind of rough like 24 hours ago from now, or whenever it was. But anyway, Graham, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, like I said, the parallels between that and the whole Santorini Thera eruption, that explanation. It seems like it's like that the sequence gets kicked off, and then it goes, and then the next sequence is like tripwires for the first, the fourth, the seventh, and such. Okay.
So let's see, Mr. Blazing Apple, where are you going with this? The 4-letter name of God Gematria number for Yahweh is 26. Correct, but I mean, what are you implying there? And then Zero also said all effects of volcano. Blazing up for 20. To Seth also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Oh wow. Okay, this is interesting. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. When Seth grew up, he had a son and named him Enosh. So I don't know why it's repeating it twice, but what's interesting is, so do you know what the son of Enosh would have been called? Oh, I see. When Seth grew up, he had a son and named him Enosh. At that time, I think this is what you said just before. I mean, it doesn't. What you mean, the next chapter of what I'm reading, or of what you're talking about? I feel like. But anyway, my point though is, Graham, do you know what Enosh's son would have been called?
Oh, I forget off the top of my head, Ariel. Sorry.
Ben Enosh, the son of Enosh, or Bar Enosh?
Okay, I was going to say in the Bible they gave him a specific name, but okay.
So it's just because like for instance, like my father's name is Uri, so I'm Ariel Ben Uri, but like that's not like technically I could be called Ben Uri, but like that's not all of who I am. But the idea is what one of the ways that he would have been called would have been Ben or Bar Enosh. Now what's interesting is, have you ever heard this term Bar Enosh?
No.
So this is actually super interesting. Bar Enosh is the Aramaic phrase for son of man. Enosh means man. Isn't that kind of cool?
Interesting. I said interesting.
1 second. Where is it? Messages. Here. Copy. I'm going to send a link to Avi. I think he's busy, but just in case. Couldn't hurt. Let's see where. Here. Anyway. View tab. Where are we? The 3 threes emanate from the 1. 1, 2, 3. He started naming the stars. 1, 2, 3. 1, then 2 create the 3. And then you have 1, 2. Then that's 3. 3 plus the 1 and 2 equals 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 plus 3, 6.
I was going to say some of that echoes the old Taoist, the 1 creates the 2 creates the 3, and the 3 creates the infinitude.
And the infinitude creates my lunch.
And is your lunch.
I'm joking. That's a paradox. I don't eat lunch. I haven't eaten lunch in I don't know how long, because I generally do not wake up early enough to eat lunch.
Wanted to execute judgment against them. We start off with wonder number 1, water from the Nile.
No, used early in like Genesis 2.
Turn into blood. Horrible thing. Here we see Hapi, who was the god of the Nile. This was a slap in the face for him. He couldn't protect the water, and the water was the heartbeat of Egypt. Essential, both for drinking and for trade, commerce, and for crops. Also, other gods were challenged by this miracle. Osiris, the Nile was called Osiris' bloodstream. Now it turned into actual blood.
Hey, what's
Wonder
up?
number 2.
What's up, Usal?
Makoreaki. I just want to say hi.
Hey, kol besado. Dude, I've had a wild week. Did you hear? I ended up in the ER last Shabbat because I accidentally almost / may have still inhaled a mango chunk. You're muted.
Let me get in the car. I'll come back on. Bye, brothers. Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries.
I'm just with my students and the school is loud.
Oh, of course.
Frogs came out of the river. Here we see 𝐤𐤀𤐀. She's always depicted with a frog's head or a frog on top of her head.
Interesting if you think about it.
Frogs were...
𐤤𤀀𤐃, I think you could argue, is actually onomatopoeia. Because think about it. what do we say? What sound does a frog make? Ribbit, ribbit, 𐤅𐤀𐤀. It's the same basic sound. We just choose to, because like it's not like they're actually making, it's like rah, 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 like it's actually, dang it, why now I'm going to look up a frog. Let's see, frog croaking, and I do not want to find a video of a dead frog, but let's see. Where? Okay. Frogs ribbiting. I feel like toads croak and frogs. Okay, let's see. Like, think about that. It's no more saying ribbit than it is saying 𤤅𤀀𤀀. Like, you see what I mean? It's all in the eye of the beholder. You see, you think 𤤅𤀀𤀀, you hear 𤤅𤀀🐃. You think ribbit, you hear ribbit.
That sounds like that blue yellow dress thing.
I was literally thinking the same thing. And just to prove a point, let's find another one. So it's interesting. So certain frogs croak, others ribbit. Okay, let's see. Wait, what? What the what? What? No. What the fuck? What the fuck? Surely that's they're not going. I'm not watching that regardless, but yeah. Someone said, "Was anyone worried the where'd it go? Was anyone worried the turtle would actually get crushed?" Honestly, knowing people today, is it sad to say that it wouldn't surprise me? Like, obviously, it's not where I didn't think it was the case, but like, I didn't automatically think like, oh yeah, clearly that's just clickbait. Because society is at a point where I honestly don't know that you can tell. Anyway, back to the video. Here. What's this? 𝐤𝐤𝐴Cate, eye of newt, tongue of frog. Interesting. Yeah, 𝐤𝐴Cate and 𝐤𝐤𝐴Cate, very close connections.
Also, animals you should never trample upon or kill, because there were hard punishments for doing that in Egypt of those days. Now, frogs were not so popular anymore. Frogs were everywhere and they were dead. So that was plague number 2. Number 3, lice, especially dreadful for the priests. Lice of the dust of the earth. The priests shaved not only their beards, but also eyebrows, not to become unclean by lice. Now there were lice everywhere. And 𐤅𤀃 was challenged and beaten by God in this wonder number 3. Wonder number 4, swarms of flies. They did not bother the Jews who lived at Goshen. God protected them. But 𐤅𤀃, who was the god of beetles and flies, he couldn't protect the Egyptians.
No, I think I actually
Also
might have just
Amun-Ra.
found an interesting reinterpretation of this. I don't think this is necessarily because, yeah, it says later that God's going to war with the gods of Egypt. But if you think about it, it's not really the gods of Egypt that are getting punished. It's almost like either God, like Adonai is turning the gods of Egypt against Egypt, or he's showing that they are under his command. This idea that like the gods of Egypt are essentially just angels that are assigned to the people of Egypt.
Well, these people notice that they have waking.
You keep cutting out. You're cutting out.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. No, they don't have Yahweh taking on the biggest, baddest god in Egypt, Amun. They have every god except Amun. Correspondence is between Yahweh and Amun that people for the years tag.
Yeah. Definitely interesting point to bring up.
Were challenged by a god on this one. Wonder
I guess
number
here they're trying to
5,
say the fly
death of
somehow is
cattle
connected to
and
Amun-Ra,
livestock.
but I don't see the connection.
The herds of the Jews were not affected either. And after these 5 horrible plagues, Pharaoh tried to persuade Moses to stop it. But Pharaoh didn't want to let the Jews go.
I've always
So
heard
they
Ra
had
associated with the
wonder
10th
number
plague.
6, boils and sores.
Sorry, what?
I always heard Ra associated with the 10th plague.
How? Just because
Well, Ra was the king of the pantheon, and that was a direct attack against Pharaoh. And Pharaoh being Ra incarnate.
Wouldn't that be more so Horus?
I was going to say not usually. I mean, some of them went with Horus, but during this one, they were usually going with Ra or Amun.
I mean, you also have the idea of like Ra-Harakti, which is basically Ra and Horus.
Well, Ra-Harakti that's Horus of the horizon. Yeah.
Really?
There were many different Horuses. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I feel like because so in Ra-Harakti, I'm guessing that Ra is what's being used for horizon.
I'm not sure on the etymology there. A lot of times they just like to stick, the preface, the God's preface on top of things. So I can't sign off that it has an association in horizon rather than it's just a naming convention that they kept invoking.
Yeah. So there's interesting notes here. So it's associating here the boils and sores with an attack on like Serapis and Thoth, or with what is this? What's this? Singing brings the rains, floods proliferate. Flood comes up into the house and trough, not just frog invasion washed up. Lord of Flies, blood sacrifice, Insumer, flies infiltrate the underworld to rescue Inanna, able to get through the 7 gates. And I guess those flies are already naked, they have nothing to take off.
There were lots of Egyptian gods helping with medicine, with healing, magic, and so on, like
What?
Isis and Imhotep. But none of them could help the Egyptians against.
He's saying that the Egyptian gods didn't have much to do with medicine and healing. It's like, what? Egypt had like probably the best advanced medicine in the ancient world.
No, that's what he's saying.
There were lots of Egyptian gods
There were
helping with
lots of-
medicine, with healing, magic.
Here, listen.
There were lots of Egyptian gods helping, and so
Oh, okay, I missed that
they
lots
had
up.
wonder number 6,
Wait, what do you think?
boils and sores.
I think he said there were. I thought he said there weren't lots.
There were
of.
lots of
I thought,
Egyptian gods helping with medicine, with healing, magic, and so on, like Isis and Imhotep. But none of them could help the Egyptians against this plague.
He's just saying
Wonder
in this
number 7,
context.
hail came from the sky. There are few gods who were protecting the sky, holding the sky up, and so on. Nut, who was the goddess of the sky, she was also mother of 5 other gods, but none of them could protect Pharaoh or his people. Wonder number 8, then the locusts came. We have seen that several times also in modern history. Grasshoppers come and eat
How on
all
earth
the
do
crops.
they associate Seth with
Seth,
God
the
of
Egyptian
crops?
god of crops,
He's
was
the god of the
powerless
desert.
against God's hand.
God of the storms.
Wonder number 9,
Also, Seth
complete
probably is
darkness.
implied in this context.
The major sun god called Ra stood helpless. Surely many prayed to him, but they had no sunlight for several days. Other sun gods also, one who raised the sun in the morning, one god of the sun rays, and so on.
This would be Ra.
Obviously, none of them helped the Egyptians. Wonder number 10, and the final plague and motivation for Pharaoh to give in: death of the firstborn. The firstborn was important in many ways, as he had a double inheritance, he had the birthright, he was also the future for your family, for your business, or whatever. So it was an awful blow against the Egyptians and against Pharaoh. Pharaoh used to be deified after death, but at this time of Moses, he was a god even while he was living. Even Pharaoh had his firstborn die. There were also a few other gods, like Hathor and Isis, who were defeated by God Yahweh. To sum up this short presentation about the gods of Egypt and how they were defeated when the God of Moses performed these 10 wonders. First we see the people crying out to God as they were oppressed by Pharaoh, and he answered them. Then God warned Pharaoh, who didn't want to listen. Pharaoh could have prevented these disasters.
But God wouldn't let him.
When the 10 miracles happened, God proved himself superior to all the Egyptian gods. They were
Maybe
lame
not
and
morally,
helpless.
though.
God, he fulfilled the promise to Abraham to get the Jews out of Egypt and give them their own country. And the rest, as they say, is history. Thank you for taking time out. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, that your faith has been boosted, and that your awe of God is growing. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, do you want a moral god or a powerful god, Ariel?
Why do I have to choose?
Well, I don't know, but it seems like you have to. That's just how it seems like it works.
All right, so let's see, where is it? Here. So but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I definitely feel like some of them he was trying to force a bit more. But remember that one person who, I forget who it was, but they were saying, oh, it can't be because Seth, I forget what they were saying, but because it doesn't fit with Seth, it's like, okay, so find a replacement. Like that's stupid to say that it's like 9 out of 10 fit, but this 10th one, it doesn't fit, so it can't be. Like if you're actually looking at a 9 out of 10 fit, and then you're like, oh, but this something's not right about it, I think you might be missing the forest for the trees.
Could be, or it depends on how badly the one doesn't fit.
No, that like it was a very non sequitur thing, like almost like something that wasn't even mentioned. So it's like oh, I see what you mean. Storm's
Yeah, it's sort of like if you're doing your list of Hollywood starlets and you got Scarlett Johansson all there and somebody puts in Roseanne Barr. It's like, no, that list isn't hot Hollywood starlets. I don't know what that list is. Maybe rich starlets, but it's not hot. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
There
Maybe starlets with Jewish ancestry.
could be, yeah. It's there's all sorts of other alternative reasons for generating that list, but the one that they just gave me is one I can't sign off on. Tag.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Most people probably don't know that Scarlett Johansson's Jewish. And as for Roseanne Barr, I mean, I can't speak as a collective because I'm just an individual, but as much as I can speak for a collective, please, we do not want to claim her. Roseanne Barr, that is.
Well, I was going to say that's true with quite a few Jewish people over the years.
Fair enough.
Not all of them are good representatives of what a good Jewish person should be.
Likewise with Catholics.
Dear Lord.
I mean, when a good amount of people in the world are Catholic, you're bound to have some pretty shitty people. But also,
yeah, that's exactly one of my rules is once you get above a certain number of people, you're going to have a certain number of bad apples and assholes in the group. It's inevitable.
Maybe that's why there's people who are so insistent on reducing the population. It's like, oh, maybe there will be less assholes. I don't think that's
Could
necessary.
be, or at least less really severe assholes. It could kind of cuts the top of the pyramid off.
Well, unless it's the assholes who are still in charge, but there's just less of everyone. Anyway, so Seth, so Mr. Blazing Up 420 said Seth is a god of physical vigor and voracious sexual appetite in open conflict with social order and emotional bonds. Set as the celestial bull, Set is associated with the Nile Delta, storms, water, crops. Oh, it is now 0, but storms, water, crops. Seth inseminates the soil. Back to Blazing Up 420. Seth is the thigh and foreleg of the ox. The thigh is associated with the loins. Interesting. So, yeah, like we were saying yesterday. So, we're going to start. So, Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Wait, why did it go to songs? Shoot. Did it close? I think I might have... damn. Well, in the meantime, before I forget, something that I found as I was going to bed yesterday, it's in, I think, Psalms. Is that where we... so yeah. Check this out. Psalms, I think, was at 49. Let's see. No, it must have been... oh, dang it. Daughter of Sidon. Daughter of the king. Tanakh, Psalms 1. It is 45. Check this out. So, so this is from Psalms 45. Here, I'm just going to read what it has. So, for the conductor, or Luminatzecht, for the victor, upon the roses, Livnei Korach, for the sons of Korach, Maskil, Shir, Yedidot, a Maskil is song of love or of endearment. I'm just going to read this. My heart is astir with a good thing. I say my work. This psalm is for the king. The Torah scholars. My tongue is the pen of an expert scribe. You are more beautiful than. Yafita mivnei adam. So this isn't than all men. This is than all humanity. You are more beautiful than all of humanity. Chutzak chen, chatzak, who pours out. Chutzak, pual. It would be pual. Who flows, maybe? Who is poured out, whose grace is poured, I'm just going to say, favor, grace has been poured into your lips. According to halacha, that's what it says. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. Buckle your sword upon your thigh. Chagur, like gird. Gird, charvecha. Gird your sword upon your loins, or upon your loin. Gibor hodecha, a hero. What is this? This is your glory and your beauty. Gibor, your like your mightiness. Gibor, not Gibor. So, like your strength and your strength and your strengthen your hod, your majesty, v'hadarecha, and your glory. And your beauty is to champion the cause of truth, the humility of righteousness, and it will teach your right hand wonders. I'm sorry, that sounds dirty. I have the mind of a child. Your arrows are sharpened against the heart of the king's foes. And in rewards for your Torah study, the foes of Israel will be vanquished by them. Your throne of justice, Kisa Elohim, literally your throne, your divine throne, is forever and until the rod or the staff of upright or righteousness, Shevet Malchutecha, the staff of your kingdom. There's a lot of Kabbalistic language here because you have Malchut, you have Tzedek, which is connected with Chesed. You have where is this? Hadar, which is also Hod, so Hod. You have Gibor from Gvura. You have where else? Chen. Was there something about Tiferet? Well, no, Hadar would actually be connected with Tiferet, but the point is you have a lot of connections here going on. So we're almost to here. Let's see. You love Tzedek, and again, it's interesting because there's a context where you could actually read this as not referring to just a concept, but actually loving a god. So you loved Tzedek, and you lifted up. And you sana, and you hated evil. Therefore, mashchacha. Therefore, you were anointed. Therefore, you were anointed by Elohim Elohecha. You were anointed by Elohim, your gods. By Elohim, your gods. Shemen Sason, with a oil of righteousness, oil of happiness, oil of gladness. Mecharvecha. And from Mechavarecha, from your friends or from your companions. Morva ohalot, myrrh and aloes wood. Basically, what is it, like oud? Myrrh and oud, kitziot, are and cassias, kol bigdotecha, they're all in your clothing, or they're all your clothing. Min he chalef, from the halls, from palaces. Shen mini, the palaces of ivory. Mini shimchucha, from my happiness. I'm not sure. Anyway, here's where it gets really interesting. But not melachim, the daughters of the king, biyakarotecha. Wait, in their I don't know what it's saying. In their prizeness will stand shagal. They will stand as a consort, a queen. They will be set up as a consort or a queen. Leminecha, for Leminecha, for your right hand. No, wait. There will be a consort for your right hand. This is king's wife or mistress, queen, consort, royal consort. Beketem Ophir. It's saying she'll stand as a consort, and for your right hand in it's honestly not very clear. There's clearly echoes back to this older tradition. It is so clear. But here you have Ketem Ophir, which apparently Ketem, so gold, pure gold, but it also just refers literally to this idea of like the color of gold, potentially. But so listen to this. Shimi bat, listen, daughter. Virei v'hati, and see, and hati. What's this? See and stretch out your ears. V'shichchi, shachach, and forget amech, forget your people, uveit avicha, and the house of your father. Where are we? Okay, yeah. Vayitav hamelech yafiech, and if you incline, hamelech yafiech, the king will, the king. Oh, if vayit vahishtachavul. I don't get. Oh, kihu. If you do this, vayitav hamelach, the king will desire your beauty. Adonai, because I don't know where they're getting, and if you do this, but also it's interesting. Here it says the house of your father is the idolatries of your ancestors. So this is interesting, but it's going to get into it in a moment. Why it's talking about it. So Vayitav. So and the king will desire your beauty because he is your Lord, Adonai, your Lord or your lords. Vahishtachavilo. Wait. Vihishtachavi lo, and you will bow down to him. So this is interesting. So there's clearly a hieros gamos going on here. It is so clear because there's this idea of the king, but it's also referring to, let's see, where is it? There's another reference to the king somewhere. See, I like on one hand it's referring to God as king, and on the other hand it's literally referring to her groom. But now here's where it starts to make sense. Ubat Sor, and daughter of Tyre, Bimincha Panaich, in the gift of your face. But apparently this says Bimincha Panaich Yalchu Asiream. Let's see. So it's Asiream is rich, like rich nation. Yachlu is become weak. What? No. Yachal weak sick. There's another mollify, appease, and treat the favor of. Okay, so and even the daughter of Tyre, the richest of nations, will seek favor from your face. I like in the gift of your face, but I mean, for the sake of what it actually means, it's the other one better. So notice this. So she's called the daughter of Tzor, daughter of Tyre. Any thoughts so far?
No, just trying to follow along, see where they're headed.
All right, now look at this. Kol kvuda, all the honor. Kvuda, what's kvuda? Abundance, riches, wealth. Bat melech penima. All the abundance, all the riches of the daughter of the king, penima. Now here it says, who conducted herself inwardly with modesty. But like that's how the translator interpreting it. What's interesting is apparently there's a way that this could actually be read as ponima, or a reference to the ponim, to the punics, or also where same root as Phoenician. So it's really hard to say. I'd be more inclined to think this were the case if it were ponim, but because you have the mem as actually it looks like it's saying panam. So you have panim, if it was just panim, that would be faces. But it could also, if it was ponim, that would be interesting. But panima, apparently, if there was a root that was actually connected to like panam, then it's possible that this could be saying like the punis, like the Punic woman, basically. Which I personally think it's a bit of a stretch, but I did think it was interesting, especially because it's literally in the context of talking about the Phoenicians. But like, so I'm just gonna. Okay, so I'm just going to skip a bit. So, repository, all honor is the daughter of the congregation of the king, who conducted herself inwardly with modesty, more precious than the golden settings in the vestment of the high priest. Interesting. Mimish betzot zahav levusha. Interesting. So they're interpreting all of this to basically be that, but why are they still saying that more precious than the golden settings in the vestment of the high priest is her raiment? Like that it's more valuable than that? It's interesting. In embroidered garments, let's see, lir kamot tuva lamelech tvulot acharecha. Betulot. Let's see, in embroidered garments, she will be brought as a gift to the king. Virgins in her train. This is the word. Yeah, I thought it stuck out. Was it tuval? That's the word that I think is used for train and is also tuval. I think it's also shoval, maybe, to bring, lead, carry, conduct, bear along a train. Okay. They will be brought in tuvalna. They will be jubilant in happiness and joy, and they'll be brought into the palace of the king, or they'll come into the palace of the king. In place of your fathers will be your okay, this is interesting. Tachat avotecha yihiyu banecha. In place of your fathers will be your sons. So you clearly have this idea, and especially if we're connecting this to the idea of the hero Scamos and this kind of blurring between the lines of human and God, it's very clear that you have this idea of the succession potentially going from El to Yahweh, or to Adonai, rather.
No, definitely. I can see where you're getting that.
Yeah. And you will place them as princes in all the land. Azkira Shimcha Bechol Dor Vador. I will recall your name in every generation and generation, basically from generation to in every generation to generation. Therefore, Amim Yehuducha. Therefore, a nation of praise, like a nation of your praises, Leolam Vad. It'll be for people's for honestly, I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely something I want to look into another time. But see, wait, where'd it go? Okay, wait here. Wait, where were we? Oh shoot. Okay, so here. I don't know what I was. Oh, Alamot. What? That's what I want to see. What is this Alamot? Yeah, that doesn't. Soprano, maybe. That seems to be what it's talking about. Anyway, so, well, I need to take a small voice break now, so I'm going to look at any comments to see if there's. Okay, so the tip of Orion's sword is found on his right thigh of Orion, the eighth brightest star, Hatisa Gohatia, meaning cow killer. Read it backwards. Yaso means savior. Hata means to sin. Savior of sinners. Wait, what? I am not. Read it back. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
They're saying the Yah at the end stands for Yasa, and then the hot is the Hata. And they're going backwards. They don't mention what happens with the go.
Yeah, I don't see it. Also, I just understood what you said, a mango chunk. I'm glad you're still here, brother. Yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of if I wouldn't have been here, just maybe had to get it sucked out of my lung or some shit, but luckily not. Spirit Spheroid, Sapar, Tsipora bird, hovers over the waters, rises, descends. Interesting connections. Pneuma Greek for breath, spirit. Interesting. Spirare, Latin breath, spirit, maybe relate to some. I mean, I don't know if it would be a direct connection, but I do think there might be like a. Dang it! It's like you have things that it's like you want to draw a connection, but I don't know that there is one. That's a problem. If you can find an etymological connection, then all for it. But I'm hesitant to say something without actually having something that I could potentially even draw between them. Like
my
beyond
rule
just
is
this.
my rule is there's nothing wrong with making the connection. It's the strength of the connection. It may just not have any strength.
Yeah, it's like you can take a rope and you can throw it and you can see you can get it around a branch, but just because it's around a branch doesn't mean you can use it to climb up the tree.
I was going to say you do have to, it depends on how you put it around the branch.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jehovah against the gods of ancient Egypt, Part 1.
Ooh, he's going to go
Jehovah's
after you for
showdown with
saying
the
his
pagan
name.
gods of ancient Egypt is found in the book of Exodus, chapters 7 through 12. God
Ooh,
is
that's
not only showing
you
his
are
power to
there.
Pharaoh, he's poking fun at the entire pantheon of Egyptian gods as he reveals his power to the children of Israel in preparation for their delivery from slavery. In the course of 3 videos, we'll briefly explore which of Egypt's many gods Jehovah is ridiculing with each of the 10 plagues. It's not a comprehensive list of Egypt's pantheon, and scholars do not always agree which gods relate to which plague, but it's a fair overview. If you haven't read the story in Exodus lately, I suggest you. It's a fair overview. If you haven't read which it's not a comprehensive list of Egypt's pantheon.
That looks like
and scholars
that
do not
classic photo of like the fall of Rome or whatever. Like, I'm sorry, is this supposed to be Egypt? Whoever drew this did not know what Egypt looked like. They're like, okay, let's just draw what we think old buildings look like, and then we'll throw in some hieroglyphics and then say it's Egypt. Oh, look, there's even is that supposed to be the Watchtower of Alexandria?
Probably. My guess is this AI generated.
I don't know. This is 4 years ago, dude.
Okay. No, that changes it.
Yeah. No, John Martin, 1823. That explains it.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I can see AI doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's an AI time machine, and it went back in time to do that.
relate to which plague, but it's a fair overview. If you haven't read the story in Exodus lately, I suggest you do. And so we begin. Moses and Aaron have requested that the slaves be allowed to go to the wilderness to worship God, and Pharaoh has refused. God has declared war on Egypt's Pharaoh, and now Moses and Aaron arrive for the first parley in the throne room. As expected, Pharaoh demands a sign, and at God's command, Aaron throws down his staff, and it becomes a serpent, probably a cobra. Then the court magicians throw down theirs, and they also become serpents. But Aaron's serpent swallows up those of the magicians, and this time the magicians can't replicate that sign. The serpent, particularly the cobra, was revered by the Egyptians. It represented life energy, resurrection, wisdom, power, cunning, death, darkness, evil, and corruption. The uraeus was a golden emblem of a spitting cobra worn on the pharaoh's forehead and was the most potent symbol in Egypt. The Ouroboros, a snake swallowing its tail, was the symbol of rejuvenation and eternity. This was but a mild demonstration of God's power, and Pharaoh is unimpressed. From now on, things will get progressively worse. A few days later, Pharaoh is on the banks of the Nile bathing and offering sacrifices. He is interrupted by Aaron and Moses, again requesting that the Hebrew slaves be allowed to go into the wilderness to worship. This is accompanied by a warning that if he doesn't allow them to go, the Nile will turn to blood. Pharaoh refuses, and Aaron stretches out his staff so that not only the Nile, but all the surface water across the land turns red. In the
Oh,
Egyptian language, the word blood is
You know what this reminds me of? It's like that one scene, I forget what movie it is, but where it's like they're in the pool and all of a sudden someone goes, "Floater!" But instead of floater, it's blood.
Yeah, that's Caddyshack, the first one.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you better let my people go, otherwise I'm going to make sure that I clear out all the Nile. And he's like, oh, and how are you going to do that? It's like, oh, just you wait and see.
also a color. Was this real blood? Quite possibly God used a toxic red algae from the heavy rainfall that caused the water to turn red, the fish to die, and the water to stink. But the timing and quantity was purely God's. Whether he uses natural or supernatural means, Jehovah's rule is no less miraculous. This could be replicated by the Egyptian magicians, but it could not be reversed. The three gods associated with the Nile were Hapi, Osiris, and Khnum. Hapi was the god of the Nile's annual flooding. He had female breasts to bring a rich harvest to the land. He was known as the Lord of the Fish and the Birds of the Marshes. Osiris was the god of the afterlife, underworld, and the dead, and was depicted as a green-skinned man with a crook and flail. The Nile was his bloodstream. Khnum was the water god, guardian of the river's source, and the god of creation. Usually he is shown with the head of a ram. God gives Pharaoh a week to think about it, and then sends Moses and Aaron back to him with the request to let the Hebrews go to the desert to worship, or he'll send a plague of frogs. Of course, Pharaoh refuses. Aaron raises his staff, and this time frogs come from everywhere to cover the land. Notice that the court magicians can also produce frogs, but they can't make them go away. The frogs go into their houses, beds, ovens, and cooking utensils, and even cling to their bodies. So Pharaoh summons our boys back to the palace and says, "Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away, and to let your people go to offer sacrifices." Moses says, in effect, "Okay, you picked the exact time, just so you'll know that it's God doing it." Moses prayed, and at the appointed time, God answered, but not by making all the frogs hop back into the water. The frogs died right where they were, in the houses, in the cooking pots, in the ovens, in their beds. The Egyptians had to shovel them into piles where they rotted and reeked. Of course, Pharaoh reneged on the deal. To the Egyptians, the frog
It's
was a
almost like
symbol of
implying
life
foresight,
and
because
fertility.
that seems to be what it
𝐅𐤀𐤃 was the
caused
frog goddess.
flies.
She was married to Khnum, who
Some-
formed each
I was
person
gonna
on
say,
his
I was
potter's
flashed
wheel.
into Australia
𝐅𐤀𐤃 then breathed life
and
into
cane
them before
toads.
they were placed in their mother's womb. She is associated with the final stages of childbirth, and pregnant women wore her likeness as an amulet. So next, with no warning to Pharaoh, God tells Moses to tell Aaron to stretch out his staff and strike the dust, and from it rose gnats, body lice, ticks, fleas, sandflies, and or mosquitoes.
In other words, they
The
should have
magicians
properly
could no
disposed
longer
of the
imitate
frogs.
the miracle, and they recognized that this is the finger of God, even if Pharaoh is unmoved. It is the Egyptian god of the desert, Set or Seth, against whom Jehovah directed this plague. Set is the god not only of the desert, but of storms,
Ooh, didn't they make a
chaos,
movie
and
about
war.
this? I think it
He
even
is
had a
depicted
song.
as
It was like Godfinger. Oh, sorry, Goldfinger, but it should have been Godfinger.
Funny.
He's the man with a plaguey touch. He'll destroy your entire land.
enigmatic creature, referred to as the Seth animal, a beast resembling no known creature, although it could be seen as a composite of an aardvark, donkey, and jackal.
Is that all?
The
That seems
Egyptian
almost
people
like
were
the idea of a
fanatic.
skinwalker. You see what I mean? Like, it's not any one being,
Yeah,
but it's also
no,
anthropomorphic.
I see what you're saying. I don't have any comment to that. Could be.
Let's see. So Zero said sapar whistle, onomatopoeia, riding the wind, morning breeze, song, the breath, articulated, prayer, calling the sun, morning star, brings dawn. I honestly, I don't quite follow. Let's see. King cobras are carnivores that primarily eat other snakes, both venomous and non-venomous. Interesting. That's a really cool parallel. Thanks for bringing that up. I read it in a book that there are pressure points beyond the head of a snake that makes it go stiff like a staff. Interesting. So it's like, you're just holding it like that, and all of a sudden you're like, okay. And it's instead of pushing a button, you release the button, and all of a sudden, you drop it. It's still stiff, falls over, all of a sudden, and then that's cool.
About cleanliness, often washing and shaving their bodies to please their gods, to be invaded by these filthy insects.
Interesting. This idea of ritual shaving in order to please a god or goddess.
Donkey and jackal. The Egyptian people were fanatical about cleanliness, often washing and shaving their bodies to please their gods. To be invaded by these filthy insects was humiliating.
I mean, the funny thing is, there's people who are like obsessed with shaving, but they don't do it for cleanliness, but like for ritual reasons.
The first 3 plagues were inconvenient, unpleasant, and uncomfortable. Now Jehovah is going to start turning up the heat. He's also going to extend special protection to Israel so that they do not have to suffer. We don't know exactly how long each of these plagues lasted, nor how long the interval between many of them was. But to the suffering Egyptians, it must have seemed like an eternity. Next we see Pharaoh, once again heading down to the Nile, probably for his morning ablution, and again he finds his nemesis, Moses and Aaron, awaiting him. God tells Moses to tell
Honestly,
Aaron
I feel like
to
probably
tell
at a certain point, Pharaoh was like, he just kind of wanted to grab Moses and just drown him in the river, but he's like, but what's God going to do if I do that? He's had just about enough of Moses, who it's his brother, right? This isn't the Pharaoh who is supposed to be his father, but his brother at this point, I think, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I really wanted to strangle him when we were growing up, but now he's actually a threat to security. But then what is his boss going to do? It's kind of like, you might be the president, but it doesn't matter if there's still someone who has more power than you. You don't want to fuck with them.
If you don't let my people go to worship me, tomorrow I will send swarms of flies. Your houses will be filled with them, but there will be none in the houses of the children of Israel. Of course, Pharaoh ignores the warning, and God releases a swarm across the people of Egypt, in their beds, houses, food, and the ground under their feet. The text says, dense swarms poured into the land. These were probably ichneumon flies, or wasps, that bury their eggs in the skins of humans and animals. They might have also been blood-sucking horseflies, gadflies, or dung beetles. These insects brought more than misery. They also spread disease.
Gadflies?
The goddess 𝐤�𐤀𐤀 was the deity associated with flies. She was guardian of the marshes and the noonday sun. On her head, she also wore the symbol of the cobra, as she was the protector and defender of Egypt and the Pharaoh. 𝐤𝐄 was the god of creation, the movement of the sun, and rebirth. He is depicted with the head of a scarab beetle. Finally, Pharaoh summons Moses and Aaron back to the palace and says, go sacrifice to your God, but do it here, not in the wilderness. Moses says, no, offering sheep and goats as a sacrifice here would be an anathema to the Egyptians. They'd stone us. We've got to go away. So Pharaoh tries again. Okay, you can go to the wilderness, but just don't go too far. Now pray that I'll get rid of these flies. So faithfully, Moses intercedes in prayer, and it says, not a fly remained. But Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. Again, we don't know how much time passes between the flies and the next plague. But this time God sends Moses and Aaron to court to tell Pharaoh that if he doesn't let the people go, tomorrow he'll send a terrible plague on all sorts of livestock, including horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. But no animal belonging to the Israelites will die. And Pharaoh just lets it happen to his people. That's how hard-hearted he is. This is becoming catastrophic to their economy. But the king doesn't care. He's a god after all, and his pride is at stake with these Israelites. But you can bet the Egyptian people care when their livelihood and riches, their food and means of transportation are all dead and rotting in the field. But God kept his promise to the Israelites.
They
Pharaoh
killed
even
my
investigated
Cadillac.
and found to be true that none of the Israelites' animals had been touched. With this plague, Jehovah is humiliating Egypt's gods identified with livestock. Included here is Khnum, the river god with the head of a ram, Apis, the god of agriculture,
Oh,
who is
wow.
depicted with the head of a bull, and the
What
oracle
on earth?
Nevis,
His
who is
face
represented by a
almost
living
looks
black
like,
bull, taken to
Ten
the temple,
Commandments.
worshipped, and his movements used as an oracle. That's the first 5 plagues on the Egyptians
Wait a
as God
second.
prepares to free the Hebrew slave.
Did that just... Does that cow have stars for udders? And a lot of udders of that.
Black bull, taken to the temple, worshipped, and his movements used as an oracle. That's the first 5 plagues on the Egyptians as God prepares to free the Hebrew slaves. We'll continue the story in part 2 of
I
Jehovah
think
against
that's
the
somebody
gods of
who's
ancient
never
Egypt in our
encountered
next video.
a cow in real life.
Who?
Whoever drew that, because cows aren't laid out like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But that's interesting though. What do you make of the idea of the insects from Plague 4 being responsible for causing the plague of boils?
No, I'd say it makes a lot of sense. Again, it falls into that whole everything is fallout from the volcano. And that would make sense with the hardening Pharaoh's heart. It's sort of like, before Plague 1 ever starts, I got 10 in the hopper. We can't have Pharaoh ad-libbing. He's got to stick to his script, regardless of how much he wants to let him go. Tag.
Yep. Let's see. So, share stuff instead. Also, check this out. So I've worked on my acacia staff a bit. So this Medusa acacia, and I wish I would have realized I could have done this earlier. I kept the nubs up down here, and I just cut off the thorns so I can't hurt myself with it. But it has a really nice texture to it. Unfortunately, didn't think of that sooner. I guess I could always just invert the direction and have that be up where like I hold it, but I'm not sure. I could always get another one. So, but let's see. It's only been an hour, 13 minutes until we actually start. That's not too bad. So just going to try to bust through this first one, and then we'll get to the second one, see how we go from there. Also, I see there's 4 people watching right now. If anyone wants to join, I can repost the link. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I have more thoughts the more people are in the stream. It's just kind of how my stream of consciousness works. So, no pressure, and you don't need to be on camera. I mean, Graham's never been on camera. Nobody knows what Graham looks like. It's a mystery. Seriously, Graham is just this Rorschach picture to me. That's what he looks like. When I think of Graham, that's Graham. So
I'm
you
a
don't need to.
fractal. What can I say? Yeah. People are probably better off not seeing my face. What can I say?
Don't sell yourself short. All right,
No, I saw myself ugly, not short.
Okay, that's funny.
Sorry, bad joke at the wrong time.
Good joke at the wrong time. All right, let's see. No, it was a good joke, not a bad joke. All right, so ושמתי פדות בין עמי ובין עמך למחר יהיה האות הזה. And I'll place, I will I will set a ransom between. I don't know why it says distinction. Pedut. Let's see. Fada. Ransom, distinguishing between my. Set a distinction. I will set a distinction between my people and between your people. For tomorrow will be ha'ot hazeh, will be a sign. Will be this sign. Vayas Adonai ken vayavo arov kaved veit haparo veit avadav uvechol eretz Mitzrayim tishach haaretz mifnei ha'arov. And Adonai did thus, and he brought a heavy swarm into the house of Pharaoh and into the house of his servants and in all the land of Egypt. Tishachet, he slaughtered? No, he corrupted, destroyed, caused to go into decay the land, mipnei ha'herov, before the face of the swarm. ויקרא פרעה אל משה ולאהרון ויאמר לכו זבחו לאלוהיכם בארץ. And Pharaoh called out or summoned Moses and Aaron, and he said to them, go and sacrifice to your God in the land. So he's saying, don't leave the land. ויאמר משה לא נכון לעשות כן כי תועבת מצרים נזבח לאדוני אלוהינו הנזבח את תועבת מצרים לעיניהם ולא יסכלונו. One sec. One moment. And Moses said, this is not correct, or it would not be right to do thus, because it is a abomination, or is abhorrent. It is abhorrent to the Egyptians to sacrifice to Adonai, our God, there, or lest we sacrifice and commit an abomination to the Egyptian, committed an abomination before the eyes of the Egyptians, and so that they do not stone us. So this is interesting. So sakal means to stone, to be put to death, but so saklas, I think it would be spelled similarly, but it would have a samach at the end as well. I wonder, there's got to be some similar. Saklas means fool. No, because it's never mind. It's with a kaf. That's why. Interestingly, sechel means wisdom or intellect, but like haskalah means enlightenment. But then you also have, I think, is it shachal? I forget what the word for fool is, but it's interesting how the two are so similar. All right, let's see where we're at. Yeah, so we're not going to do that because we don't want to get stoned. Well, we want to get stoned, but in the good way, not the bad way. דרך שלושת ימים נלך במדבר ונזבחנו לאדוני אלוהינו כאשר יאמר אלוהינו. A path of 3 days, we will go into the wilderness and sacrifice to and we will sacrifice to Adonai, our God. Our God. As we have said to you, or as he has said, as he has commanded to us, or as he has said to us. Vayomer Paro Anochi Ashalach Etchem Unzevachtem Ladonai Elohechem Bamidbar Harchek Lo Hatarchiku Lalechet Tiru Bahadi. And Pharaoh said, I will send, Anochi Ashlach Etchem. Oh yeah, I will send you, and you will sacrifice to Adonai, your God, in the wilderness only Harchek, only if you don't go too far. Lo Tirachiku, do not go too far, Lalachet, to go Haitru Ba'adi, Atar, entreat me, or it's like, please, at least do this. It seems very, it's like supplicating them. So it's like, please, at least do this for Ba'adi, like as my witness, Ba'ad, on account of me. It seems weird. Why is he asking them to do it on account of him? It's like, what do they owe him? Are you picking up on that as well? It's a weird way to phrase it.
No, definitely.
Okay. Let's see. ויאמר משה, הנה אנוכי יוצא מעמך, ואתה תהיה אל אדוני, ושרי רוב מפרעה, מעבדיו ומעמו, מחר הקהל יוסף פרעה התלי בלתי, שלח אתם לזבוח לאדוני. And Moses said, behold, I am taking when I go out from your from amongst you, and supplicate to Adonai, or like entreat Adonai, Visar Harov, to turn away, or to cause the swarm to depart from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his nation. Tomorrow only, Al Yosef, only as you gather, or Al Yosef Paro, only not to increase. Is there another meaning to this? Increase, do again, only not to do again for Pharaoh. Had tell, only not to deceive Pharaoh, so as to send, so that he will let the people go to sacrifice to Adonai. So it's saying, let's see. But let not Pharaoh. Oh, he's saying let Pharaoh not act deceitfully. Okay, that makes more sense. So it was Al Yosef, do not increase Pharaoh to deceive. Do not join. Do not cause to add, to do more. Do not cause Pharaoh to try to deceive me again, because it doesn't say again. The context of again is in Yosef, to increase to the times that he tries to deceive. That's fascinating. It's not like you really have to connect the English translation to the Hebrew to see that, but so as not to increase, so that Pharaoh does not increase his deceptions of me. So that interesting. I really think that's cool. Let's see. I bet, because here Yosef, it's also the name Yosef. So I wonder, is there any commentary that connects this? I'm sure there is. If I'm starting to think like a rabbi, and that doesn't mean like I'm going to be a rabbi, it just means that I kind of can think like that. Okay. Vaitar. Anything about Yosef? Come on. Oh wait. I think I might. Yeah, I was. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Anything about Yosef? Yatel Bahem Eliyahu? No. Basar? Oh, no. This is too perfect not to. Damn it! I'm upset. Someone should have picked up on this. Yasaf. I guess some of them just see it as Yasaf. They don't see it as Yosef. Let's see. Damn, I'm really upset about this. This is like primo material.
Well, somebody's got to be the first. You may be the first.
Yeah, but the problem is that because I'm not a rabbi and because it's not like part of tradition, it's just something I'm noticing. And because of that, it's not like I have this. It's not like I know anything about that. It's like, oh, here's the name of Yosef. I wonder why it's being thrown in there. It's a bit curious. Also, it's possible someone did write something about that. It just didn't get translated in the Slispies. If you notice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's German. 6. No, sorry. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's about maybe like there's more non-translated ones than there are translated, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, that's something that plenty of people like to do. I'm more interested in analyzing it once there's already been translation, because then I can catch things in between. But it also means that if you're not the first one to translate it, or at least first one in a while to look at it with new eyes, also means that you might end up not being the one. Like, you might see something, but it might be too late because someone might have saw it already and written about it. So it's it's a catch-22.
Definitely.
See, so where are we at? All right. ויצא משה מעם פרעה ויעתר אל אדוני. And Moses left from the presence of Pharaoh, from amongst Pharaoh, and he entreated to Adonai, or pleaded with Adonai. ויעש אדוני כדבר משה ויסר הערוב מפרעה מעבדיו ומעמו לא נשאר אחד. And Adonai did thus as Moses asked, and he turned away the swarms from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his people, and there was not one that remained. ויחבד פרעה את ליבו גם בפעם הזאת ולא שילח את העם. And Pharaoh's heart, or Pharaoh's like inner self, was not honored, was made heavy, and also this time, and he did not send the people, or he did not let the people go. So, let's see. Give me a moment. What are we? Let's see. Vaera. So 6 starts at. Wait, no, he started at 6 already. So 7th is at. Oh, holy crap! That's not fun. So we have 35 left. So I need to take a quick break. It is shit. So I'm going to speed this up. But let's see. There was a part 2 to that one video, so let's see if we can find that. here.
Jehovah against the gods of ancient Egypt, Part 2.
0.
The face-off in the desert between Jehovah and the gods of ancient Egypt continues from the book of Exodus, chapters 7 through 12, as God continues to pour humiliation on the Egyptian deities. We have seen how each time Pharaoh refused to allow the children of Israel to go into the desert to worship, Jehovah visited another plague upon Egypt by turning the Nile to blood, overrunning them with frogs, sending nasty little biting bugs, then swarms of bigger, badder biting bugs, and finally killing the Egyptians' livestock. As we pick up the story now, there is no warning or confrontation with Pharaoh. The Lord tells Moses and Aaron to use the soot from the furnace. In the presence of Pharaoh, Moses tosses the soot in the air, and the wind blows it across the land of Egypt, causing angry ulcers and boils to erupt on the skin of the Egyptian people and cattle. Some researchers think this is a minor form of the bubonic plague that causes chills, fever, vomiting, diarrhea, and of course, boils. It appears that Pharaoh, the Egyptian officials, not to mention the magicians, are not just in misery from the boils, but are so sick they are unable to physically summon Moses to the court to contend with him. The magicians could not imitate the plague, and more importantly, could not cure the boils and their sickness. This is particularly galling because Egypt was known as an ancient center for medicine. Remember, the Egyptians are obsessively hygienic, and having festering sores like these on their body would have been not only painful, but absolutely humiliating. In this plague, Jehovah is ridiculing Sekhmet, the goddess of epidemics, healing, and medicine. She is depicted as a lioness. Isis was the goddess of healing and perfection. Nefertem was the god of healing and physical beauty. But even in the pain, sickness, and embarrassment of oozing pus, Pharaoh will still not listen and let the people go. As Pharaoh's heart continues to harden, Jehovah gets ready to turn up the heat even more, and the next 4 plagues will bring total devastation. God sends Moses and Aaron to court early in the morning to confront Pharaoh with the longest message yet. God says to the king through Moses, "If you don't let my people go so that they may worship me, I will send the full force of my plagues against you and your officials and your people, so that you may know that there is no one like me in all the earth. I could have wiped you off the face of the earth with that last plague, but I have allowed you to live and come to power over Egypt for this very purpose, that I might show power, that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. At this time tomorrow, I will send the worst hailstorm that has ever fallen on Egypt. Bring your livestock and everything you have into shelter, because every person and animal that is still out in the field will die." God, in his mercy, gives them the exact time and specifically advises them to bring their livestock and field hands to safety. Some of the Egyptian people are beginning to believe that there is no God like Jehovah, and they heed the warning. But many more of them, including Pharaoh, sadly do not. The next day, early in the morning, at God's command, Moses stretches out his hand with his staff toward the sky, calling rain, thunder, lightning, and hail throughout the land of Egypt. It beats down the crops and the trees, the animals and the field workers. Egypt averages 2 to 8 inches of precipitation per year, and many places have almost 365 days of sunshine. So it's no wonder that this was an event, the likes of which had never been seen in Egypt. But in Goshen, where the Hebrew slaves lived, there was no hail. With this plague, God is ridiculing a large number of Egypt's gods. Among them are Nut, the sky goddess; Shu, the god that personified wind and air; Amun was the god of wind; Tefnut was the goddess of rain. She is depicted with a lion's head. Mahis
Yeah, it's
was the
interesting.
god of war and weather.
You
An
notice
interesting combination. He too has the head of a lion.
Amun's
Set, or Seth,
Ten
was the god of
Commandments-esque
storms and violence.
headpiece.
It doesn't take long
Yeah,
before Pharaoh is
interesting.
sending Moses and Aaron back to the palace. Once again, Pharaoh is pleading for relief, offering an insincere
Thank
apology.
you. Okay.
We have sinned. Notice he's passing the blame.
Yeah. So, Casil is fool. Casil is Orion. You saying that made me connect to that. It's like I know it in Hebrew better than I do in English. I don't know fool, but I know Orion. So Casil or Kesel, but Kesel is fool, and Sechel, which has the same letters, means wise. So a fool and a wise person are very close. It's ultimately what you do with it, and in a lot of ways, was it? In a lot of ways, it's not just what you do with it; it's also, oh god, I need to clean my bomb. It's dirty. Not this one. This one's relatively clean. I'm talking about the one I use for flour because I barely use that. So anyway,
Now, go ahead and finish first, Ariel.
Oh yeah, basically just that sechel, like intellect or like enlightenment, like haskalah versus haskalah would be enlightenment, and haksalah would be like I guess just not deception but enfoolement, like becoming embroiled in tomfoolery.
Now, the comment that I was thinking is what occurred to me there is that have any relationship with like Kessel and Kessel Run and Starship with Han Solo, because you can easily see him making the Fool's Run.
Honestly, I mean, it's definitely. Believe me, I hear Kessel, I think of that, but I mean, you never know.
Lucas did use a lot of Hebrew motifs in Star Wars, so
Yeah, but I don't know if it went that far.
Among his people, the Lord is in the right and I am wrong. Pray to the Lord, for we have had enough thunder and hail. I will let you go. You don't have to stay any longer. Moses says, when I have gone out of this city, I will pray, so that you may know that the earth is the Lord's. And I know that you will not fear the Lord God. He's calling Pharaoh's bluff. But Moses intercedes with God and the storm stops. After he receives relief from the storm, Pharaoh's heart and those of his officials harden and will not let the people go. Next, God reminds Moses that it is he, Jehovah, who has hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he may perform his signs among the Egyptians, and so that the Israelites may tell their children and grandchildren how God dealt with the Egyptians and know that Jehovah is the Lord. Moses relates to Pharaoh what God says, "How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse, tomorrow I will bring locusts into your country. They will cover the ground so that it cannot be seen. They will devour what little you have left after the hail. They will fill your houses, something you have never seen before." The text says Moses turns and leaves Pharaoh. Even today, you never turn your back on a king. You bow yourself out, walking backwards. Moses has had enough of Pharaoh's whining, deceit, and broken promises. He walks away. And Pharaoh's officials look at Pharaoh and say, "How long are you going to let this go on? Can't you see Egypt is in ruins?" So Pharaoh summons Moses and Aaron back and says, Okay, go worship the Lord, but who are you going to take? Moses says, "Everyone, our young and old, our sons and daughters, our flocks and herds." But Pharaoh doesn't want to hear that. He replies, "Only the men
Also,
can
we're
go
going to
and
take some
worship
of your
the
stuff
Lord.
as well.
Leave your women and children here." Then he has Moses and Aaron hustled out of the palace. Moses doesn't protest. He just stretches out his hand over Egypt, and God sends an east wind that blows swarms of locusts over the land, devouring everything. In this plague, Jehovah is baiting Osiris, the god of the dead, who is also the god of regeneration and therefore the god of agriculture. In addition to disorder, evil, storms, and violence, Set, or Seth, was the protector of crops. Go figure. Isis was the goddess of life and had authority over fields, the sun, and the locusts. When nothing green remains in all of Egypt, Pharaoh calls our boys back and says, "I have sinned. Forgive me once more and pray." Once again, Moses returns good for evil and prays for his enemy. When Moses prays, God in his mercy sends a west wind and carries the locusts into the Red Sea. This brings us to the 9th plague. There is no warning. God simply commands Moses to stretch out his hand, and darkness so thick it could be felt falls on Egypt for 3 days. Yet all the Israelites in Goshen
Yeah,
had
that's
light.
indicative of something physically
Some believe
there.
this phrase would be better translated, darkness so thick one had to grope or feel their way along. Others believe the darkness was caused by a heavy sandstorm, creating a tangible effect to the darkness. The earth is the Lord's, and he can use natural or supernatural forces to do his will. These are people who saw the sun almost 365 days a year. To be 3 days in utter darkness must have been terrifying. With this plague, God is poking fun at Ra, the major sun god, and Horus, representing the sun and the moon, or power
Rah,
and
rah,
healing.
Rasputin.
After 3 days, Pharaoh calls Moses to the palace and says in effect, "Get out of here. Take your women and your children and go. Only leave your flocks and herds." Pharaoh knew that if their possessions remained in Egypt, so would their attention, and they'd want to come back for them. The Israelites had large, healthy herds, and you can bet Pharaoh was thinking of appropriating them to replenish what he'd lost in the plagues. Moses politely explains that no, he doesn't know exactly what animals they'll need or how many of each. God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and 3 times the angry Pharaoh threatens Moses with death if he ever sees him again. Moses is angry now too and tells him, "You've prophesied the truth. After today, you will never see me again. But before I go, let me tell you about the 10th and final plague." But that's the story for our final video in this series. We've seen here plagues 6 through 9 with boils, hail, locusts, and darkness, as Jehovah visits devastation upon Egypt. When he finally convinces Pharaoh to free the Hebrew slaves, we'll see the 10th plague in part 3 of Jehovah against the gods of ancient Egypt.
Celestial Smackdown.
What?
Celestial Smackdown.
Yeah, it's like celestial
So, like, when
smackdown. Sorry, you were saying?
in part 3, number 10 on the top 10 list. So like when the storms were going on, Pharaoh talking to Moses, call it to a halt. I guess Moses was walking between the raindrops.
Raindrops keep falling on his head. Do 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 do. I don't know.
'Cause it's not happening in Goshen, but he's talking to the Pharaoh, so he ain't in Goshen. So he's
Not
got to be
necessarily, because if this was the 18th dynasty, then I'm pretty sure Goshen would have been very close to the seat of power.
So Pharaoh's in Goshen.
Well, I mean, because keep in mind, I think Goshen and Avaris are very close to each other, right?
Yeah, but the storms are coming down the torrent, it's killing everything.
What do you
So
mean?
where it just seems that they seem to be in a bubble while all that's going on.
Actually, perfect video for after this. Well, let me get it ready just in case. Okay, let's see. Wait, what's this?
Well, I was
When
going to
it's-
say Moses could have had an umbrella.
And also, if the heart can be hardened, it can be softened, right?
True.
Seems like a more direct way to change a mind.
All right, let's see. What was I looking for? So,
Moses is the one who invented the umbrella hat.
wait, hold on. It was, let's see.
Well, Egypt was the land of great hats, so it only goes to figure.
Parasol.
Let's see. Oh, come on. I've got to find this. I literally saw this just before. Huh. Ah, shoot. let's see. Maybe. Let's see. I literally saw the. It's ridiculous. I literally saw this video just before, and now I can't find it. Let's see.
There seems to be an abbreviation going on the internet. When you look things up, they only give you a percentage, and that might shuffle which percentage they give you.
Let's see.
It's all the mysterious, nefarious algorithm.
AI taking some sweat off.
I think it was somewhere here. Come on, this is ridiculous. 10 plagues. 10 plagues affect Israelites.
There you go. It's a new manicure set with the. They do up the nails.
What?
They paint the fingernails, one for each of the plagues.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, it's
A new
market-
Jewish
market
nail salon
possibility.
treatment, yeah.
Oh, you're
maybe some Korean.
You know how they like to paint things onto nails.
yeah. Okay, come on. It was from. I should have clicked on that video when I saw it. I can't believe I didn't. I feel really upset about that now. Let's see, 10.
Tattoo on each of Moses' fingers, like the lemonade knuckles.
Let's see.
Only it's Yahweh on both hands.
What's that?
I said only in Moses' case is Yahweh tattooed on both hands of the knuckles.
Did Israelites die of the 10 plagues? No, what? Damn it. The 10 plagues.
The two fists of God.
I mean, it literally should not be this hard to find a video. It's literally about this concept. I'm actually upset about this.
It's the 11th.
Oh, funny. Let's see. Did 2 million Jews die from the 10 plagues? That's. Let's see. Wait, what's this? Okay, I think I might have found where this idea is coming from. see. Well, half the shit isn't even relevant. Okay, so it was. Oh, speaking of the 11th plague, talking about the. That's funny. Okay, so no. Let's see.
The AI is becoming psychic.
What is it we're trying to find? It was something about. Shoot, I don't remember now.
Walking between the raindrops.
No. Oh, yeah, here.
Goshen.
1/5. Okay. What's this? Okay, this is what it is. What? Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find anything on this on YouTube. Oof. You know, maybe we'll find it in a moment, but damn, I can't believe Michael Heiser passed away. It's been almost like a year now.
They're out of business. The gods are shut down. They're out of business if they don't have the priests. So we can go to Exodus 12, which I usually do,
That's
where at the Passover, when the death angel, the destroyer, is coming, God says, "This night I will have victory over the gods of Egypt." It wasn't just that night. It was the whole thing, okay? On their gods, the Lord executed judgments, plural. All the plagues have something to do with this. So let's get into a few of them. You have the Nile turned to blood in Exodus 7. I'm not going to go out to all the passages. A lot of these are going to be familiar to you. Why would that be a big deal? Who's supposed to maintain the correct working of the Nile? Who's supposed to maintain Ma'at? Pharaoh. Horus incarnate. So God, through Moses, turns the Nile into blood. Now we know that the Egyptian priests, they can't fix this, but they can mimic it. And they do. They make it worse. Oops. That doesn't show that they're in control. It shows that all they can do is take Yahweh's judgment, the God of the Hebrews, and magnify it. Frogs are next. This is an attack on the goddess 𐤅𐤀𐤀, responsible for the control specifically of multiplication of the frogs in the Nile. You had too many frogs, it was a problem for various ecosystem reasons. And so the Egyptians had a goddess that was, they believed was assigned to this particular aspect of the Nile's Ma'at functioning. So 𐤅𤀀𤀀 is not on the job. Of course, Pharaoh, everybody's looking at him because he's the one supposed to maintain all this. The gnats and the flies. Now, Herodotus makes an interesting comment about Egyptian priests that factors into the gnats and the flies plague. He says Egyptian priests shave the whole body every other day, that no lice or aught else or anything else that is foul may infest them in their service of their gods. You were ritually unclean in Egypt if you had lice. So what the Egyptian priests would do was they would shave their entire body every other day just to make sure the lice didn't have a place to snuggle, and again, to get rid of the lice. So that, why? Are they just clean freaks? No. They do it so that they are able to go into the temples all across the land and do their daily priestly function. In Egypt, every morning, this is why temples were oriented to the east.
There's also a good chance
you would open the doors of the temple,
wasn't just light.
the sun would rise and shine in. It would actually shoot a
Because
beam
of
of light
the
through the temple,
potential like
through the corridors of the temple,
or
and
sexual
the priest would open up
rituals.
all the doors, and at the end of the row, at the end of the hallway, these long hypostyle halls, there would be an object. Okay, either a figure of a deity. In some cases, it was the sacred bark, the ship that the Egyptians thought transported Ra across the sky every day. There's something at the end of the road there, at the end of the hall, in the Egyptian holy of holies, so to speak, and it was made of gold. And so the sun would hit it and illuminate the interior of the temple. Okay, they would do this every morning. They did other things as well, but for the Egyptian priests to perform their functions in temples were sacred space. They could not have lice. They couldn't have other physical defects as well. So if everybody's plagued with gnats and flies, and again, one of those terms you could translate as lice, we've got a big problem if we're Egypt. Our priests can't maintain order. They can't feed the gods their daily offerings. They can't open the doors of the temples to show that the presence of the deity is there in the object, illuminating the temple and the land. The gods are shut down. They're out of business if they don't have the priests.
They're on lockdown.
And so by extension, this is crippling the worship of the false gods of Egypt. It's a real slap in the face.
He was such a good scholar. It's such a shame that he's not around any longer.
Here's a funny Forrest Gump story in my life. I was talking to my spiritual advisor over the weekend, and he was suggesting that I read Unseen Realm by 𝐤𐤀𤐓𝐻.
Hundreds of neo-Nazis were gathering.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And he sat there and said that he should set up a talk between me and 𝐤𝐤𝐻, because 𝐤𝐤𝐻 was a colleague and friend of his. And I sat there and said, "Isn't he dead?" He goes, "No." And I had to break the news that 𝐤𝐤𝐻 died last year to him.
Oh.
Yeah, again, would have been kind of cool to actually have a talk with 𝐤𝐻𝐻 on this stuff, though.
Yeah, wow. That's got to be a horrible way to find out.
As he put it, and it's true. Better to find out from me than from one of his other colleagues. Because this way he can at least be clued in. It's not embarrassing, Tag.
Fair. Let's see if I can find anything. Oh, here.
Thank everybody for coming. Please help yourself to breakfast. Breakfast this morning is sponsored by Steve Bernstein. He's remembering the yahrzeit of his mother-in-law, Tirza Leibas Elimelech, and his father, Yitzchak Moshe ben Avram Yehuda Halevi, the yahrzeit of the Swede. And also, we sponsored by the Green family, and mazel to the Green family and the bar mitzvah of Yoel Newmark, son of David, and Leora of Baltimore. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Anybody wants to sponsor the open-based medrash, everybody's welcome to stay and learn. Please see Rabbi Menachem Leib Brenner. Interesting, the Torah says that there were 3 days of darkness, and Rashi brings down the Medrash that says that the plagues was unique. The plagues of darkness were very unique in Egypt. Why was that? Because those Jews that weren't righteous died during this plague of darkness, and they buried those Jews under cover of darkness. So according to the Medrash, only 1 in 5 survived, or 1 in 50, or 1 in 500. You're talking about millions of Jews that died, according to the Medrash, during the plague of darkness. So the question that's been raised is, how could so many Jews die and that affected the Jews more than affected the Egyptians? The Egyptians had these kind of numbers dying during the plague of darkness. Rabbi Yosef Saraskin says that since they buried the Jews, even though the Egyptians knew that so many Jews died, it didn't have as much an impact as if when they would see them dying and lying in front of them, they've had enjoyment at it, since it was out of sight, out of mind. However, Shimon Schwab, who lived in Washington Heights, didn't like this answer. He basically reiterates the question: how could so many millions of Jews died and the Egyptians didn't know about it? And how could the plague affect the Jews more than the Egyptians? According to Rabbi Shimon Schwab, only a handful of Jews that didn't want to leave Egypt died. So then you raise with the question: how does he answer the Medrash? The Medrash says this number. Remember, 600,000 fighting men left Egypt. You're talking about millions of Jews left the country. That means millions upon millions of Jews died in the plague of darkness, according to the Medrash, especially with the higher numbers. So he says that what they're looking at, the Medrash is looking at is how many potential children each one's going to have. And either to the time of base of Midrash, at the end of the time, that's how we answer the Midrash, depending on the big numbers, is how many descendants that they're going to have. That's how you calculate that. That's according to Rabbi Shimon Schwab. So therefore, and he brings a proof. The proof was when Cain killed Hevel, God says the blood of your brother cries out from the earth. It's written in the plural because he didn't hold Cain responsible just for the killing of one individual, for all descendants throughout time. Now, I can conclude with a humorous story that Shlomo Hyman was a big clown and a big Talmud Chacham, and he gave a class in yeshiva, and he used to get into it. He used to fire and brimstone. He used to get up and chuckle, and the place used to shake. One day in a snowstorm, only 4 kids showed up to class, and he's still giving his share with the fire and brimstone. Go, Rebbe, there's only 4 guys in the base medrash. What are you giving the whole fire and brimstone? He goes, you think I'm just talking to you 4 guys? I'm talking to your kids and your grandkids and your grandkids. So we look into the future, not just us out the future. That's the lesson I think from Shimon Schwab has a very beautiful explanation. Novel, but I think very, very appropriate. Have a good Chodesh.
Well, that's dark.
Well, he's got a good point where you need to consider your actions and just not the impact in the moment, but the impact throughout, downstream in the future.
See, is this the
Good
same
morning,
thing?
everybody. Thank you for coming. Please help yourself to breakfast. Sponsor if you want to stay alert for the morning cola, please feel free to do so. If you want to sponsor the morning cola breakfast, see Rabbi Nachman bread. In this week's parsha, we read about the plague of darkness. 𤐅𐤀𤐓 is a big darkness, and if you look at the Medrash explains that the plague of darkness was unique among all the other plagues that took place in Egypt, because in this plague of darkness, there were Jews that didn't want to leave Egypt that were died within there. And how many Jews were there that didn't leave Egypt? There's a difference of opinion. Some say only 1 in 5 survived. Some say only 1 in 50 survived. Some say only 1 in 500 survived. But based on this medrash, according to any way you look at it, even the smallest number, millions of Jews died during the plague of darkness. So Rabbi Shimon Schwab was bothered by this because, first of all, can you imagine millions of Jews? Remember, 600,000 men came out, and you had women and children, at least 1.5 million or more. So if you had all these numbers that died during the plague of darkness, you talk about such a tremendous figure. But he wanted to know, how could so many deaths of millions of Jews not be noticed by the Egyptians? Right? If you have so many people dying in the plague of darkness, when the darkness...
No, it's just the same answer. So I feel like this is your... this is what you could use as the source material for, your skit or whatever. And it's like, maybe it's like having skit. It's like, okay, so, we're going to, oh God, this gets dark because there's another parallel, but basically it's like Canaan expressed this way, and the party for all the people who want to stay behind in Egypt, it's this way, and don't forget to take the complimentary punch.
The dum-dum.
Yeah, I mean...
Buried him under the cover of darkness. They would still had fire.
Huh?
Talked about the unworthy Jews died during the darkness, so that they buried them under the cover of darkness.
What about fire?
No, quite what or who they buried.
What?
Let's say it's fire going.
Yeah, they couldn't... What are you talking about? I feel like I'm missing something. Hello? Zero? Oh, anyway. Graham, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Zero gets connection issues every so often, so.
Oh, yeah. ויאמר אדוני אל משה בוא אל פרעה ודיברת אליו כה אמר אדוני אלוהי העברים שלח את עמי ויעבדוני. And Adonai said to Moshe, go to Pharaoh, or come to Pharaoh and command him, say, or speak to him and say, thus said the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. Ki ima'en ata l'shaleach ve'odecha machazikim bam. Because if you refuse to let my people, if you refuse any longer to let my people go, and continue to machazik, and continue to grasp onto them. Hine yad Adonai hoya b'miknecha asher basade בסוסים בחמורים בגמלים בבקר ובצאן דבר כבד מאוד. Behold, the hand of Adonai, Hoya will fall upon your livestock that is in the field, in the horses, upon the horses, upon the donkeys, upon the camels, and upon the cattle, and upon the sheep flocks. Dever, pestilence, kaved, heavy indeed, or a very, very serious, very severe pestilence. והפלה אדוני בהן מקנה ישראל ובהן מקנה מצרים ולא ימות מכל לבני ישראל דבר. And Adonai distinguished between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of the Egyptians, and they did not die from all the children of Israel's possessions. Vayasem Adonai moed lehemor chamachar yaseh Adonai hadavar hazeh ba'aretz. And Adonai placed moed, like a appointment, or set an appointed time, saying, Adonai has set an appointed time tomorrow. Yaseh Adonai Hadvar has it. Adonai will do this thing in the land. ויעש אדוני את הדבר הזה ממחרת וימת כל מקנה מצרים ומקנה בני ישראל לא מת אחד. And Adonai did the thing that he said he would do. I mean, I did the thing that he said, literally. From tomorrow, on the morrow, the day after, all the livestock of the Egyptians died, and the livestock of the children of Israel, not one died. Vayishlach paro vehine lo met ממקנה ישראל עד אחד ויכבד לב פרעה ולא שילח את העם. And Pharaoh sent for, and he beheld that or when Pharaoh sent for, I guess it's saying an answer, and beheld that from the livestock of Israel, not a single one had died, and his heart was heavy. The heart of Pharaoh was heavy, and he did not send the people. So here you have Yishlach, so Shalach, Pharaoh sent for. So he's sending for answers, but he won't release them. He won't send them to go. It's kind of like a play on words here. I think that's, I don't know, I like those things because it's like, you notice it's very formulaic. Let's see, what's this? Let me take a picture. Probably. The thing that sucks is I always forget to look back at these pictures, but at least I feel like I have it there. All right. Even now let the people go. V'lo yishilach eta. ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון, קחו לכם לאלוה חפניכם פיח כי בשען וזרע כמו שהשמיימה לעיני פרעה. And Adonai said to Moshe and to Aaron, take for yourselves and fill chafnechem, chofen, handfuls of piach, of soot or ashes, kivshan, kiln ashes, or handfuls of soot or ashes from the kiln or smelting forge furnace, uzrako zerek, and scatter or sprinkle, toss them, scatter them abundantly, strew them. And Moshe will scatter to the heavens the ashes le'enei Paro, in the sight of Pharaoh. Oh, that's got to be a death sentence. It's like, what you doing? Are you sprinkling ashes in front of me? I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to have your head chopped off because of that. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what Pharaoh's like. I really am surprised that he's not had Moses killed because he grew up with him. And so it's like, even though he really doesn't like him, he still loves him.
Makes sense.
Family dynamics. Let's see, where are we? V'haya le'avak al kol eretz Mitzrayim, v'haya al hadam ve'al habehema lishchin boreach avavot v'chol eretz Mitzrayim. And so it was lavak. And it will v'haya, and it will be lavak for dust, for like clouds of dust upon al kol eretz, upon all the land of Egypt, and v'haya, and it'll be al hadam, it'll be upon mankind, ve'al habehema, and upon the beasts, lishchin, for boils, inflamed spots, inflammation, eruptions of man, leprosy of man and beast, shachan. Interesting. I prefer the shachan with a chaf. With a chet, it's a disease. With a chaf, it's inspiration. It's almost like, you've got the I've got the burn in spirit versus I've got the burn and boils. So for boils or eruptions will flower forth or like burst forth, will bud, sprout, shoot, bloom forth. Avot, is this upon limbs? Blisters or boils, like swollen blisters, Bechol Eretz Mitzrayim, in all the land of Egypt. Wonder if there's any commentary on this real quick. So what do you make of this?
Nothing standing out that, beyond what we've already discussed.
Let's see. The aleph of avavuot, blains, is superfluous as avavuot comes from the same root as tiveh, to boil, and in the fire causeth the waters to boil. The word is doubled like the words teshashau, shall be dandled. Wait, what? What is this? No, damn. Isaiah 66:12. Now I gotta pull this up. Let's see. Duplicate Isaiah 66:12. Isaiah 66:12. Tesha'ashau, and that means dandled. What does interesting. I'm sorry, but what does this mean? To stroke, be smeared over, be blinded. How does blinded have anything to do with it? To smear eyes shut, to be smeared over, be blinded, to be smear of eyes, smear over eyes, to blind oneself, be blinded, to sport, take delight in, to sport, delight in, take delight in, delight oneself, to be fondled, to delight oneself. I feel like something's going on here, and I'm not entirely sure what. Sport, take delight in, delight. The suckling shall sport on the cobra's hole. What? Shall play upon. Oh. Shall take delight. This is. Wait, where is this? Isaiah 11:8. V'si'at sa yonek. So what's interesting is yonek doesn't actually inherently mean. See, this is where it gets tricky, because yonek, to suckle, to nurse, or to suck, like, again, the idea of a suckling, if you're referring to it as a suckling, as like this idea of a suckling, then generally it's going to refer to a child. But especially in an ancient context, because of the fact that there's a lot of metaphors going on, and also they don't have the same sexual mores as we do, it's entirely possible that this idea of a suckling doesn't necessarily have to be a child, and that this idea of a suckling, or one who sucks, that plays or takes, because this word sa'asa, it's very sexual. So it takes over al-khor, over the hole, or the cave of what is this, peten, of the venomous serpent. And obviously, we have some friends who would interpret this in a way as to say, oh, this must be some prophetess, and the viper's hole. This is, I mean, you can only imagine where people would go with that. But let's see, this word for infant. Where's this word that it's saying? Me'urat. What's this? A light hole, a den. Tifoni, poisonous serpent. Gamul. Is it hada? Where are they getting this? An infant's pass. Meaning of Hebrew uncertain. what is it saying? Meurat? Light? I have no clue. Gamul Yado Hada. Alright, so literally a suckling will take delight upon the hole of the venomous serpent and upon the light hole or den of the great viper, Sifoni, the den of the great poisonous viper, Gamul Yado, he will deal full to wean a child. He will be weaned. No, this is he will deal out due to deal fully his hand hada. He will stretch out his hand. Wait, Sifoni. So he will and Meurat. So and upon the den of the he will be dealt with. I mean, basically, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking way too much into this, but it is interesting that this word sa'asa is used because, I mean, literally, to be fondled, like, this is, it's a very sexual language, so it's interesting that's used here, and that's why I'm thinking yonek doesn't necessarily, you see, in certain contexts, it can also refer to one who actually suckles, or like does so, like not that you're, basically like it's not just this idea of to nurse is not just infant nursing, but also the one who nurses the infant. So it's not inherent, but the fact that it's implying that the suckling is the one who, I don't know. I'm looking way too far into this, and it's probably just.
Yeah, what I'm picking up on is they're making an emphasis of like the blood sucking aspect of them.
What do you mean?
Like with the insects.
No, this is completely different. This is from Isaiah.
Okay, my bad.
No worries. But yeah, this is the idea of like suckling milk, but potentially, let's see. I mean, can't believe him. Wait. So the Syrian is Musanitu, is nurse, nursing woman, caused to suck honey. So let's see, this is from let's see. What does this say about honey? Okay, let's see. Something about honey, of milk. No, of honey. Caused to suck honey. Here. Okay. Interesting. So this is from Deuteronomy 32:13. 𤤅𤤀𤐤𐤀 Rakav al like God caused them to ride upon the high places of the land, Eretz and to feast on the bounty of the earth. What? Okay, this is interesting. Look at this. So Shaddai. Holy crap! This is huge. Shaddai vayenikehu. Like, either this would be like the here, this says Shaddai can be field or land. It's a rare original form of Sadeh. Oh, it's Sadai. I still think it's saying, and Shaddai nursed them with honey misela from the stone, honey from the rock, Vishemen mechalamish, and oil an oil from the flint, mechalamish from the flinty rock. So I mean, like, this idea, it's not inherently this idea of literal nursing, but like basically this idea of causing someone to suckle. So there can be more that, I mean, there's a reason why, you know, the whole idea of sex sells and a lot of advertisement, you know, really focuses on people eating or drinking or, you know, making inherently sexual, like, imagery with their mouth, even if it's just something that has nothing to do with sex. It's like, it's part of the, like, the image. And so I think there's definitely something that's being evoked here, but it's totally off topic. I just want to wait. How did we even get to this point? It was because the word where is it that we're getting this from? Sa'asa teshashua shall be dandled. Oh, shall be fondled. Wait, the word teshashua. Thou didst make it to grow. I honestly have no clue. But this does kind of indicate maybe this idea of hemorrhoids or inflammation, that it's not necessarily the type that most people, it could be referring to, like, I think is the term priapism? I'm not sure, but, and that could actually connect with mean, because, so, do you know about mean?
I'm not sure what you mean by mean. I know Mean Girls, but beyond that, I'm not sure your specific thing.
See what I can find.
The Egyptian mythology, Min. Min or Menu or Amsu was an ancient Egyptian god whose worship dates back to the pre-dynastic times. His early images are the oldest examples of large-scale statuary found in Egypt so far. He was worshipped by King Scorpion of the early dynastic period, and his symbol appears on the Al-Amrah palette, which is also known as the Min palette. His cult may have developed from the worship of his fetish, which was thought to be a barbed arrow, a thunderbolt, or a fossilized belemnite, an ancient relative of the cuttlefish. As time progressed, he was given a human form
I'm going to
and
try to find one that
represented by
has
the
better
massive
imagery.
standard which resembles a double-headed arrow.
This looks good. I'll speed it up.
Mean, the god of fertility.
Lebanese.
Mean in ancient Egyptian religion is the god of fertility and harvest, and he is the embodiment of the masculine principle. His cult originated in pre-dynastic times, 4th millennium BCE. Mean was represented in many different forms, but was most often represented in male human form, shown with an erect penis and an upheld right arm holding a flail. The lettuce was his sacred plant and a symbol of the god himself. The stories of sexual virility of Mean spread among the modern inhabitants of the tourist city of Luxor. These stories have been passed down from generation to generation to become an object of amusement and rumor in all the towns and villages of Luxor. His mythical image fills the imagination of adolescents there. The inhabitants of Luxor are so surprised of the huge size of the god's male organ that they joke saying he had a third leg. Also, they joke about him saying God compensated him his amputated leg with prolonging his organ. They say so in spite of the disappearance of his organ from most wall pictures and statues. The erotic tale of Mean as told by the Egyptians. The native inhabitants of Luxor inherited an oral folklore tale passed from generation to generation about the virility of Mean. One version of these tales narrates the following. In ancient times, in a village in Egypt, a decree was issued for all able-bodied men to go to war, leaving only one man to guard the village. The war lasted for many years. Desiring to keep offspring, the women of the village asked Mean, the only man left behind, to do this task. So women conceived and had a lot of children from Mean. After many years, men returned from the war each man discovered his wife had sons who were not his. So they were furious with Min. They amputated one of his arms and one of his legs. Years later, the men of the village had to participate in another war, but the sons of Min, who were then the youth of the village, refused to join the army unless the life story of their father Min was immortalized in the temples. He was acknowledged as a god of fertility. The story of the god Min was immortalized, and he was called Amun Min, and he was usually painted in the form of a statue surrounded by submissive women, asking him to grant them fertility. Celebrations of god Min in ancient Egypt. The worship of Min was widespread in Keft and Akhmim in Upper Egypt, where his majestic ceremonies were held in a public procession, and many offerings were made to him. As a god of fertility and welfare, he was honored during the coronation rites of the new pharaoh, who was expected to show his sexual potency through ejaculation. His ejaculation was a symbol by which he ensured the annual flooding of the Nile and fertility of the land. At the beginning of the harvest season, the image of god Min was taken out of the temple and brought to the fields in a festival called the Departure of Min. During the festival, some youth, males and females, played games naked in his honor. Egyptians believed by doing so, god Min would bless the harvest, and their life would prosper. This 4-day festival is evident from the great festival list at the temple of Ramses III. Lettuce as a sacred sex symbol of Min. In ancient Egypt, around 2000 years BC, lettuce was not a popular appetizer. It was an aphrodisiac and a phallic symbol that represented the celebrated food of the Egyptian god of fertility. Lettuce has been harvested for millennia, and it was depicted by ancient Egyptians on the walls of tombs, dating back to at least 2700 BC. At the funerary temple of Ramses III at Medinet Habu, there is a relief depicting Min's harvest festival. At the center is a statue of Min, and behind him, a procession of priests holding a small garden of lettuce. At Edfu Temple, we can see a relief for the god Min and a naked woman or a goddess offering him lettuce. One of the reasons why the lettuce was associated with Min was because it grows straight and tall,
And
an
if you,
obvious phallic symbol.
if you wait to
The
harvest,
symbolism had more to do
Yeah,
with
this.
the milky secretion which oozed from the plant when a leaf was torn off. In other words, this sap represented semen, or rather, Min's semen.
see mean.
The word lettuce actually comes from the Latin word lactuca, from lac, meaning milk. It was this milky sap, as Egyptologist George Hart points out, which was believed to help Min perform his sexual acts untiringly. Therefore, Egyptians consumed lettuce as an aphrodisiac, a cure for impotence, and as an aid to fertility. In addition, lettuce was sacrificially offered to the god, then eaten by men in an effort to gain potency. People who were not able to formally practice the cult of Min used to pay homage to the god, as sterility was an unfavorable condition and was looked upon with sorrow. Egyptian barren women would touch the sexual organ of the statue of Min in hope of pregnancy, a practice still continued today. The god Min as seen by Egyptians and invaders. After the decline of the Egyptian kingdom, the god Min suffered from the destruction and distortion of some of his statues and images in the temples. The invaders and foreign new rulers who governed Egypt and who came from different cultures considered the statues and the wall paintings of Min indecent and voluptuous and should not be seen by children and women. However, the image of the god Min with his erect organ was not something to be ashamed of in the ancient Egyptian view, for they had much more comfortable and aesthetic standards towards the naked body, particularly in the fields of art and religion. In general, the ancient Egyptians, peasants, workers, employees, and artists used often to do their work with partially naked bodies. In hot climates, children did not use to wear clothes until puberty age. It was not nudity as seen in modern times. Min, the god who has no honor in his own country. At the end of this journey with the ancient Egyptian god Min, I'd like to tell you about my conversation with one of the gods in the Luxor temple. He seemed proud of the ancient monuments which he guarded. I asked him about his opinion of the naked statues and paintings in the temple. In a tone full of sorrow, he said, Unfortunately, the murals and columns have been exposed to a lot of distortion through ages by some people who did not know the value of ancient Egyptian monuments and who saw the statues as idols that had to be demolished. Thus, they used to break and disfigure these great monuments, especially the naked statues and engravings of Min, which, according to the religious and moral traditions, inciting people to obscenity and immorality.
So yeah, basically, um, you know, the whole tradition of like the hemorrhoids that God causes to befall on the Philistines. How there's a tradition that the hemorrhoids might actually be basically like they might have just been inflamed, like or erect, and they weren't able to. So basically, it's like, you know, if an erection lasts for 4 hours or longer, please call a doctor.
I was going to say, to a certain extent, meme is kind of like the Egyptian version of Priapus.
Exactly.
And I was going to say, one of the other ones he didn't mention with lettuce, that it was used to trick Set into eating Horus's semen and becoming pregnant with Horus's semen. And
Wait. Wait. Are you telling me that he ate his nephew's? Oh God.
Yeah, put it under the lettuce. Yeah, it was, again, you need to read the myth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also again you also have one of the Egyptian origin stories is Ta creating everything by mass ejaculating it into existence. And the last one is I kind of like, the whole that the Pharaoh had to prove his virility, but with ejaculation. I think we kind of need to reinstall that in the presidential inauguration. I think that could make some good television. What do you think, Ariel?
What, you mean like it would be like live streamed to the entire country, to the entire world?
Yeah, you got to do that if you want to be president.
Well, I mean, I guess in a sense it's probably already true, except the difference is it's being used as blackmail. But no, I think probably that's how you end up with Tiger King as president.
Is that better or worse than either Trump or Biden? I'm not sure. Tag.
It's sad that I don't know either. Anyway, let's see. But yeah, I mean, notice this. So they took of the silt and of the kiln and appeared before Pharaoh. Moses threw it towards the sky and it caused an inflammation breaking out in boils. It says inflammation. So what is this? 𤤅𤤀𤐤𝐴, and they had inflamed spots, or they had inflammation of let's see. They had like inflamed spots that swelled up. I mean, it says blisters, boils, but the thing is, the root is from, let's see, boa. I think it says baba. Let's see, boa, which means, why is it, let's see. Let's see, translate. Interesting. Boiled and agitated with blood. That could actually apply to. That could definitely apply to the concept of erection. So it's possible. Let's see, how do let's see, translate to English, and I can go back. Here. Shoot, wait, where did it? Nowhere. Okay, 9. Here it is. This is just so bizarre. So, you have any thoughts on this? Like, what, like, do you think it's at all possible this is like referencing like sexual dysfunction or something? Like, basically, they're being cursed. Like, whereas Min's supposed to give them fertility, now it's like they're unable to get rid of it.
It could be. It isn't anything I ever considered before, so I'm just following along and listening. Hey, muted.
Oh no, I know. I'm just what's this? Lettuce has very tiny seeds. That's ironic. All right, so let's see. Let's see. Oh shoot! Ow! Hot! Oof! All right. ולא יחלו החתומים לעמוד לפני משה בפני השכין, כי היה השכין הבא חתומים בכל מצרים, ויחזק אדוני את לב פרעה ולא שמע עליהם כאשר דיבר אדוני אל משה. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, השכם בבוקר והתייצב לפני פרעה, ואמרת אליו, כה אמר אדוני אלוהי העברים, שלח את עמי ויעבדוני. And the magicians were not able to establish or to stand against or stand before Moshe, Mifnei, on account of the shechin, on account of the inflammations that were inflaming the magicians and all those in Egypt. So it's interesting. It's almost like they can't confront them because they're too. They can't get themselves presentable because they're too. They need to discharge their wands before they can be respectable. But unfortunately, that's part of the curse. And so
they got their water from the Blue Nile, the Viagra Nile.
Oh, funny. And Adonai strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, and he didn't, so that he did not hear them as Adonai had said to Moshe. I told to Moshe. And Adonai said to Moshe, at the rising of the sun, or at the rising of the morning, Hashkam, or at the, I think it's rising, but Shakam, rise early. At the rise of the morning, that's what I thought. At the rise of the morning, Hityatsev, like stand yourself, Lifnei Paro, before Pharaoh, Vamarta I love, and say to him, Ko Amar, thus said Adonai, Elohei Ha'ivrim, the God of the Hebrews, Let my people go that they may serve me. כי בפעם הזאת אני שולח את כל מגפותיי אל ליבך ובעבדיך ובעמך בעבור תדע כי אין כמוני בכל הארץ. כי אתה שלחתי את ידי ואחותך ותמך בדבר ותיכחד מן הארץ ואולם בעבור זאת העמדתיך הרותך את כוחי ולמען ספר שמי בכל הארץ. Because at this time because in this time I have sent all my magafot, all my plagues, magafot, all my plagues to your heart, v'ba'avadecha, and upon to yourself, to your inner to yourself, and to your servants and to your people, on account that you will know that there is none like me in all the land. So it's interesting. It doesn't say in all the world, it says in all the land, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't say Adama, it says Aretz, which, I mean, I guess, actually, no, that does work, but still, Aretz. What about Shemayim? It's weird. It's extremely weird, because the way that Aretz is being used here, it almost seems to be implying the land of Egypt, given it doesn't say Eretz Mitzrayim, it says Haaretz. But Haaretz is also, Haaretz just refers to the land. Which land? It could be like Haaretz in the context of the Hebrew newspaper. It's not referring to the whole world. It's referring to the land of Israel. So, I mean, I think there's something to looking at this as acknowledging this is a time where Yahweh was still a regional God. There's none like Yahweh in all the land of Egypt. But they don't want to say that, because then that's like, okay, well, what about in all these other lands? But they can kind of fit it in because it's implying one thing, while really you're saying it's actually going back to time before that was even an implication.
There's another angle on it, and that's land is supposed to see. Because you have with, Yahweh defeating Leviathan. And it could be, you also have that angle tag.
Interesting. It also could be like maybe Yahweh has powers over the earth and Asherah has power over the sea. And like where they meet is a type of Hieroskemos in itself.
Yeah. I was going to say that's consistent with a lot of different mythologies. Tag.
Let's see. Ali Becha for this time. Hey, what's this? Against your heart. Divine. He would set apart the land of Goshen, and he perceived the divine providence in the final set. Hailstones, locust, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn. Hashem showed them that he was unique, for they were exceptionally miraculous plagues. Therefore, Hashem referred to the set altogether as all my plagues, especially in reference to the killing of the firstborn. Ugh, that's grim. That there is none like me in all the earth. That was said in accordance with the Egyptian belief that their gods had the power to harm or to benefit. Okay, well, thank you, Ibn Ezra, but you don't really bring much to the conversation here. Thank you, but I don't really see how. Okay, for all my plagues, because okay. And then it says, We do not find Pharaoh to be of. Wait, he also said the Lord is righteous. Wait, where is that? 27? Verse 27, it must be. All my plagues. This time, all my plagues. All my plagues, all my plagues, all my plagues. No one like me in the whole universe. But it doesn't say universe here. Definitely not. But this is Vaera. So Kamoni Bikol Aretz. So that you will appreciate that there's no one like me in the whole universe. Moses informed Pharaoh by the means of his short line that God in his capacity as Hashem exerts power over the fate of man on earth, and that he has the ability to make things happen or to even reverse them. Moses' array demonstrated that Hashem. Okay, let's see. Well, why does it use Aretz? Come on, there's got to be something else to this, some deeper level. Magafotai, different damage-causing plagues such as fire, hail, and brimstone, snow, and heavy smoke. Interesting. This realization will come to you when you observe how I enjoy complete mastery of the atmosphere. God reserved the demonstration that he also had complete control over all the phenomena in outer space or in extraterrestrial regions for the time when he split the sea freeze, when the Egyptians observed the movements of the pillars of fire and the columns of cloud, all of which moved in a manner which reflected that they were being directed by a higher power. So here that's kind of getting this idea it's on the most base level, has power over the earth, but also all over all these other things as well. So that's an interesting thing. Okay. Any thoughts on that before we continue?
Nope, nothing beyond what you had.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any comments from shoot, what did I just do? Okay. Blisters from volcanic fallout, ash following darkness of ash clouds. What is saltpeter? Ha ha ha. It's isn't that it's sulfur and what? Is it sulfur and nitrogen? I forgot. Okay, let's see, where are we? So, alright. כי אתה שלחתי את ידי ואחותיך ואת עמך בדבר ותיקחר מן הארץ. Because now I have sent my hand and ve'achotecha, and I have struck you and your people on account of tikacher, or so that you would be concealed from the earth. What? That doesn't make sense. Any thoughts on this? Like, what does that mean? I'm looking at commentary immediately. I have no understanding of this. It says, Hadiver with pestilence, va'achen smitten is missing a nun. Is there anything on this? For now, I might have stretched out my hand, and that was exterminated from the earth. But this word aval corresponds to the ulam in the Hebrew text. For this reason, I made thee remain in life, order to basically, he's saying, I let you live as a show of my power. What the heck?
It's sort of like, I'd like pulling the wings off a fly sort of statements.
Dude, this is dark.
Don't worry, I can take us far darker when we get to the 10th plague.
Oof. Let's see. I could have stretched forth my hand and stricken you and your people with pestilence. Wait. I could have struck you with Oh, badever. Oh, with pestilence, 𤤅𤤀𤐤𝐴, and to like wipe you out from the earth. Vulam, but wait, vulam, but however, on account of this, ␤␄𐤀𤐃, you are standing or enduring, or I have caused you to endure. I've allowed you to endure on account ␤␄𐤀𤐃, that you'll be seen, or in order to show you et kochi, my power, ulama'an, and so that saper shemi, so that you can tell my name or retell my name b'chol haaretz, throughout the world. Wow. I'm sorry, but it sounds like a bit of a, what's the word? Ego? Maniacal? I don't know. It sounds kind of narcissistic, not gonna lie.
Who does he think he is? God or something?
I think that's what he's saying. For the world. Wait, let's see, where is it? כי אתה שלחתי את ידי ואחותך ואת עמך בדבר ותכחר מן הארץ, ואולם בעבור זאת העמדתיך בעבור הרותך את כוחי, ולמען ספר שמי בכל הארץ. עודך מסתולל בעמי לבלתי שלחם, הנני ממטיר כעת מחר ברד כבד מאוד, אשר לא היה כמוהו במצרים למן היום. הבהסת והדעת, ואתה שלח העז את מקנך ואת כל אשר לך בשדה, כל האדם והבהמה אשר יימצא בשדה ולא יאסף הביתה, וירד עליהם ברד ומתו היורד דבר אדוני מעבדי פרעה, הניס את עבדיו ואת מקנהו אל הבתים. Let's see. But you continue, mistolel, satal. You continue to cast up, to lift up, cast up, exalt. Cast up, maybe like cast off in my people, so that shalcham, so that you will be sent. Oh, so that you will not be sent. I don't know. You will continue to thwart or continue to exalt yourself over my people, so that you are, so that you do not send them. Hineni mamtir. Behold, ka'et machar. It will rain at this time tomorrow. Barad kaved. Like a very heavy hail. A very heavy hail. that is not like that there like there is not in Egypt, and it'll be from Lamin Hayom, and it'll be from the day that it was Hivasta Sod Yasad, from the day it was founded, Ve'adata, and until now, and Ve'ata Shalach, and now Shalach Ha'ez, and now send like send off your Ha'ez et Hamikne, the goats, the he goats of what Ha'ez who's what is this Ha'ez et Miknecha, take your livestock and all that is yours of that is in the refuge in the field, and all the land, and your beast, and the beast that you have found in the field, and do not gather them into your house, ve'yarad alehem, and and gather them into your house. Wait, anyone that has not any that is in the field, any that are found in the field and that are not gathered into the field, they will upon them will go down barad hail vametu, and they will die. Hayared those that Hayare et Devar, those that saw the word or the thing of the Lord, that were from servants of Pharaoh, Henis et Avadav, they fled or escaped with their servants and their livestock to their houses. So that's interesting. So God's allowing for the Egyptians to be saved. He's not punishing them all, it seems. Any thoughts?
I was going to say, not all the Egyptians were necessarily evil, deserving punishment just because of Pharaoh. The other one is the idea that one of the differences that the Hebrews brought their cattle in with their livestock in with them, as opposed to leaving them out in the field, which could have been the difference as well.
So, kind of going on this idea of the good Egyptians, but also that they're kind of seen as bad in certain contexts. Have you ever heard of the Erev Rav?
Yes, but go ahead and refresh everybody.
So we're learning in the Sefer Zohar, in Bereshit, it's page Kaf Hey, I believe, speaks about the Erev Rav. Okay, so there is a big confusion on the Erev Rav, and I want to get a certain clarification from the Zohar on what's flying with it. Okay, we have, the Zohar says there's 5 kinds of Erev Rav, 5 minim in the Erev Rav. Okay, found it. Yeah, it's page Kaf Hey. So what are the 5 kinds of the Erev Rav? Says the Zohar: Nephilim, Giborim, Anakim, Refaim, Amalekim. Okay, 5 kinds. If you do the abbreviation of that, it comes Negara. Negara is the Rashi Tevot of those 5 kinds of Erev Rav. So what are those 5 kinds? Says the Zohar, okay, there's a certain part that I'm skipping, the connection of Bilam and Bilak to the Erev Rav. We'll leave that for another time. But what is the qualities that we can understand what those names represents? So let's start with the first one. What is Nephilim? Okay, the first one of those five is the Nephilim. So the Zohar speaks about the fallen angels, the concept of the fallen angels. ויראו בני אלוקים את בנות האדם כי טובות הנה, right? So those fallen angels, they saw the daughters of men, that they are good and they wanted to marry them, and so on and so. So okay, so this is the first quality of Nephilim. We can put it in a box. It's called lust, sexual desires. Okay, let's put it this way. Simple. Make it simple. Obviously, each one of them you can like research and get to like much deeper understanding, but I want to make it simple. So the Zohar goes on, okay, and talks about what is Giborim. So the Zohar says that the Torah says, Hema Giborim Asher Olam Anshei Shem. What does it mean, Giborim that are Anshei Shem? Literally, it means people of the name. So it sounds good, right? The name. No, it's not the name of Hashem. It's their name. I want to have my name. I want to see my name in big letters all over the world. Yeah. So the Zohar speaks about even people that are donating money for Bet Knesset, for Bet Midrash, and they want to have their name all over the place. This is a negative quality. The reality is that many people have that. So you can't tell someone, no, you can't put your name on the wall because then you belong to this group of Erev Rav. No, if it's where the person is holding, so okay, so we'll put your name on and we'll pray for you that Hashem will have mercy on you, that elevate you, the spiritual elevation. But that lust of having the person's name all over the world, it's something that is, you see that many people in all kinds of different things, right? There's you can say that most of the people in the world today, they have this idea, I want to be a superstar, I want to be a rock star, I want to be that star, I want to all kinds of different things. It's all in the same thing. It's a certain quality that it belongs to the Erev Rav, to have the name. Even in the Gemara have a concept. It's called Pakia Shmeh. His name became to be famous. It can be positive. It doesn't have to be that the person. Okay, you're right. You're right. They have in different variation, different different amount, different amount. But everybody have those kind of qualities in different amounts. So that's exactly my point. That we are all have the qualities of the Erev Rav within us. So there is people that they are very, very involved in looking on other people. This person is Erev Rav, and that person is Erev Rav, and he's an Erev Rav, and look how he's acting. He's the Erev Rav, right? There's many people, I'm sure that you know that many people that are very, very actively involved with blaming other people of being Erev Rav. But according to that Zohar, very simply, we are all have to work on ourselves to refine from ourselves those qualities, right? That's the purpose. That's what we are here for. Kadosh Baruch Hu רצה לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך ירבה להם תורה ומצוות. Hashem wants to give us that merit to elevate ourselves, to refine ourselves, to clean ourselves, to purify ourselves. So this is the purpose of the Torah and Mitzvot. When we have the Torah and Mitzvot, we're using that quality that Hashem gave us of Torah and Mitzvot, we are able to refine those character traits from within us and to connect to Hashem. Anything like that, anything, and all of those qualities from those 5 kinds of Erev Rav, each one of them will make a blockage and hold back a person from making the connection with Hashem. As much as we will refine ourselves from those qualities, we will have the possibility to get in touch with our inner being, with our neshama, with the higher worlds, the purity of the high worlds, and Hashem, which is the ultimate goal, the ultimate purpose of everything. So I didn't say all the 5. I said 2. I spoke about the Nephilim and the Giborim. We have the Rephaim, Okay, I'll say it in short because we are running out of time. The Rephaim, the quality of Rephaim, that if they see Jewish people
Something
in
about
trouble,
seeking.
they will not help them.
They'll let them sing.
They will prefer to save the dolphins, to save the dogs and the cats, all kinds of other things, but they will not help the Jewish people. That's the quality of the Am Israel in trouble, and they let go. They don't want to be involved with it. They prefer to help in different places, not to Am Israel. Okay. Anakim, the next one is the ones that are
You think they're so big?
disgracing anything else besides of themselves. They give honor to themselves, and they don't have any honor to anything else. The only thing that they honor is themselves. Whatever is not about them.
Izanak means giant.
So everything else have no meaning, have no respect. And that's basically the concept of the Anakim. That's egoistic. Okay. We can continue with that. We can continue with that another time. We have to move on to the halachot melicha, halachot kashrut. But you see that all of those qualities, each person all over the world have them in different amount. So the idea is to find a way to let go of all of those negative attribute traits. Purim is a good opportunity for that. That's the reason.
But we saw a lot of Purim and we still have an end.
Oh, so the last one that I didn't read about is Amalekim. Amalekim is also one of those 5. Okay, and in Purim specifically we have the strength of getting rid of the quality of Amalek. So Bli Neder, tomorrow we will focus on Amalek, which is the last one that I didn't read about today from those 5. And Bezrat Hashem, hopefully when you know your enemy, you have better chance to get rid of him and to win him with the help of Hashem. So Bezrat Hashem, we will learn about Amalek a little bit before Purim, that we will know what we have to get rid of, Bezrat Hashem.
So it's interesting.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam, amen v'amen.
I forget, did I ever tell you about the I only found this like a month or so ago, but apparently there's an idea that Amalek could actually be Amlak or Amluka, or the nation of Luka.
No, I don't think you did. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that they might have
ties in with the Luwians, yeah.
Yeah, well, not Luwians, the Lucans, that became the Lycians.
I thought that was the same as the Luwians.
No, I think Luwians. Wait, you might be right. Let's see, Luwian.
Southern Anatolia on the coast there.
Let's see, Luwian. Let's see, history. Wait. See also. Wait. Let's see, Luwian. Wait, the Luwians versus the, let's see, Luca. Luca lands. Lycia. Let's see, Lycians. So it's a different area. They're both in Anatolia, but different parts. History, proto-history. Lycia, in connection to Luwians. Ancient Egyptian records describe the Lycians as allies of the Hittites. Lycia may have been a member state of the Asuwa League circa 1250 BCE. Appearing as Luka or Luka. After the collapse of the Hittite Empire, Lycia emerged as an independent Neo-Hittite kingdom. The latter term was assigned to remnant states. Okay, let's see. For the most part, they spoke languages of the Luwian family. So, you're right. Interesting.
I was going to say I thought they were one of the Luwians and the Lucas were identified as part of the Bronze Age collapse. I
Yeah.
hadn't realized that they had taken over and became the Neo-Hittite Empire.
Yeah, neither had I.
That's interesting.
So, let's see. This seems like it might actually be a bit more.
Shalom and welcome to Ta'alumot Ba'ivrit, Secrets in Hebrew. Today we're going to look at something in Parshat Bo, which means to come, which is in the book of Exodus, and it's specifically in Exodus chapter 12 that we're going to look at. So Exodus chapter 12 is a very famous chapter. It's where the Passover was actually instituted, that we see written in the Torah. And it gives us good details on the exodus from Egypt of the Jewish people and something that is called the Erev Rav, which is a multitude of people. Erev Rav, the great multitude, a mixed multitude is actually what it means. And what this is showing, the reason it says here, it's actually in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38. It says, V'gam Erev Rav ala itam. It says, and also a mixed multitude went up with them. And when it says with them, it's talking about with the Jewish people that were in Egypt and that were coming out of Egypt. So it says an Erev Rav came with them. This is very important to understand because this is going to help us have a lot of insight and clarity today that there's a big confusion on in much of Christianity today. Wondering, are you the church? Are you Israel? There's this two house solution that is actually not biblical. And so we're going to get to see something really interesting today in regards to the Erev Rav. And so the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, is actually a mixed multitude of every tribe, tongue, and nation. So we see that it wasn't just the Jewish people that God brought out of Egypt. There were many people that proselytized themselves, that grafted themselves into the Jewish people to follow the God of Israel out of Egypt and into the wilderness to receive the Torah.
Interesting. So he's
Okay,
taking a
this
positive.
is very, very
on
amazing
Erev
here.
Rav.
So let's take a look here at Erev Rav. Erev Rav in Exodus 12, verse 38. Okay. Erev Rav is equivalent in gematria to 474. Okay. This is the same gematria as the word adat. Okay. $474. And the Erev Rav, this is the word for mixed multitude. Okay, mixed multitude is Erev Rav, 474. Adat is a word for congregation or assembly, if you will. Okay, either one is fine. Congregation or assembly. Okay, so Erev Rav, mixed multitude, is equivalent to congregation or assembly, adat. Adat, we actually see it used a couple times in Exodus 12. It's not a new word by any means. And it's in Exodus 12:3. It says, Dabru el kol adat Israel. Speak to all of the assembly of Israel, or all of the congregation of Israel. And then we actually see it again here in verse 19 in Exodus 12. It says, Shivat yamim shor lo yimatzeh. Bavatechem. It says, 7 days you shall not find or have leaven in your houses. Ki kol ochel machmetzet. All who eat leaven, v'nichrata hanefesh hahi me adat Israel. That soul shall be cut off from the assembly of Israel. And then it goes on to say in that same verse, Bager uva ezrach haaretz, the ger, which is the Gentile that grafts themselves in, and the native of the land. So notice what it just says in verse 19 alone. It says that the ger and the native born, so the Gentile that grafts themselves into Israel and the born Jew are both Adat Israel. And so Adat Israel, whenever God is giving these rules and regulations, Adat is equivalent to the Erev Rav. So the mixed multitudes, the Gentiles that grafted themselves in to follow the God of Israel, that graft themselves in to be a part of what God is giving to the Jewish people, are all Adat Israel, all the assembly of Israel. It's one people, okay? And just how he says.
So that's an interesting take. I've never actually heard that one before. I'm not opposed to it because it's not like, hey, but then what does it mean if you have to exterminate Erev Rav then? Or no, it's Amalek. But if there's this idea that part of Erev Rav is Amalek, like what does that mean? What's the theology of that? So I'm not sure. I'm not really trying to get into that right now.
Again, you can always do the psychological approach where you're destroying those bad impulses within yourself. Hey.
Fair. So, let's see where we at. ואשר לא שם ליבו אל דבר אדוני ויעזוב את עבדיו ואת מקנהו בשדה. And those that did not place their hearts in the word of Adonai and abandoned their servants and their cattle or their livestock in the field. But those who pay no regard. Oh, it's those who did not pay regard. Those who did not place their hearts in those who did not basically they didn't listen. Interesting. Interesting that it doesn't say anything about their ears because it seems like it would be about listening or Shema. But there's no idea of that. ויאמר אדוני אל משה נטה את ידך על השמיים ויהי ברד וכל ארץ מצרים על האדם ועל הבהמה ועל כל עשב השדה בארץ מצרים. And Adonai said to Moshe, stretch out your hand upon to the heavens, and and there will be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon the earth and upon the cattle and upon all the herbs of the field in the land of Egypt. ויט משה את מטהו על השמיים ואדוני נתן קולות וברד ותהלך אש ארצה וימטר אדוני ברד על ארץ מצרים. And Moses stretched out his staff to the heavens, and Adonai gave kolot, gave voices and hail, and he caused fire to depart upon the earth, and Adonai to rain fire down upon the earth, and Adonai hailed upon the earth, or rained. He caused fire to depart down to the upon the earth, and Adonai caused hail to rain down upon the earth, the land of Egypt. So there's actually an interpretation that what was it? Interpretation that the fire was inside of the hail, so almost like it was. I wonder if it's like acid rain or something. Oh, that's actually like maybe it was this idea of like because of the ash.
Well, one of it that I've heard, and again, this ties into the whole volcano aftermath, is the idea of it's the hot, it's like the ejacula. It's the hot, molten lava that where you have it, it's hard on the outside, so it comes down like hail, but it's still all hot on the inside.
Interesting. Let's see. And fire streamed to the ground from the words ve'esh mitlakachat. We know we know there was fire. Fire is mentioned because fire usually rises, but this fire descended from heaven, kind of like what you're talking about. And fire ran down. Ran down is a call form, expresses going unto the earth, contrary to its nature, which is to go up. Thunder and hail. Oh, so kolod is thunder. Thunder and hail. The fire traveled earthward. It is a well-known fact that atmospheric changes occur during periods of hail. All diseases strike creatures composed of the 4 basic raw materials. The underlying reasons for such diseases afflicting man are the atmospheric changes which affect the 4 basic materials. Oh shit! Where'd it? 4 basic materials. Fire, water, wind, and earth. As long as these 4 materials maintain their respective balance, the bodies of the human beings consisting of them remain healthy. If one of those materials becomes stronger at the expense of the others, disease will manifest itself amongst human beings. In this instance, 2 of these raw materials were in imbalance. The words in the fire traveled earthward expresses the reaction to this imbalance by the other 2 basic raw materials. The Torah describes fire as doing the reverse of its normal function, i.e. as traveling downwards instead of upwards, i.e. as doing the same as earth, which always has a downward tendency. Oh, like gravity. All these phenomena demonstrate how God could change at will all the scientific axioms accepted by man as immutable. Interesting. Definitely taking that into interesting.
Out of curiosity, any possibility lightning equals fire? Or is lightning coming down from the sky?
No. There's
I didn't think so.
Let's see. Moses stretched his staff heavenwards. According to Ibn Ezra, the word Shemaim here is an alternative word for atmosphere. We also find the expression Rakia HaShemaim as referring to the atmosphere and not to celestial regions. So maybe you're saying maybe he was trying to call down lightning or something?
Well, I was just thinking that was a possibility when you're talking about fire from the sky. It could be, the idea of lightning kind of fits that one, but not exactly.
I guess it's possible.
It can start fires on the ground sort of concept. Again, it's a stretch. I wouldn't push it, though.
Maybe it's an alternative interpretation, but and the fire traveled earthward, the reverse of the natural behavior of fire, which travels upwards. I think it's possible interpretation. Let's see. ויהי ברד ואש מתלקחת בתוך הברד כבד מאוד אשר לא היה כמוהו וכל ארץ מצרים מעוז והייתה לגוי. And so the hail and fire mitlakachat was taken hold of, or was flashing, snatching in the midst of the fire was in the was taken up in the midst of the hail, very heavy, as it was not like anything in all the land of Egypt, Meaz, and so, and since it had been a nation, ויחע ברד וכל ארץ מצרים את כל אשר בשדה מאדם ועד בהמה ואת כל עשב בשדה היכה ברד ואת כל עץ השדה שיבר. And the hail struck all the land of Egypt and all that was in the field, from the from the humans or from the people to the beasts, and also the herbs of the field were struck by the hail, and all the trees of the field were shattered. רק בארץ גושן, אשר שם בני ישראל, לא היה הברד. And only in the land of Goshen, that is where the children of Israel were, there was not any hail. Or just rather, there was not hail. וישלח פרעה ויקרא למשה ולאהרון, ויאמר עליהם חטאתי הפעם אדוני הצדיק, ועמי הרשעים. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron, and he said to them, I have sinned this time, or this time I am guilty. I have sinned. Adonai is righteous, or Adonai is the correct one, the righteous one, and I and my people, we are wicked, or we are in the wrong, as it says. והתירו אל אדוני ורב מהיות קולות. אלוהים וברד אשלחה אתכם ולא תוסיפו לעמוד. And plead with Adonai and greatly that that there will be that the thunder or voices of Elohim and the hail I will let you all go, and I will not and you will not need to increase your stay or your remainder here. ויאמר אליו משה קצה אותי את העיר אפרוס את הכפי אל אדוני הקולות יחדלון. והברד לא יהיה עוד למען תדעי לאדוני הארץ. And he said, and Moses said to him, as I leave the city, Ephros, I shall spread out my hands to Adonai. The thunder will chadal will cease, will stop, and the hail will not be anymore, so that you will know that for Adonai, that Adonai is for the land, or that the earth is for Adonai. ואתה ועבדיך ידעתי כי טרם תיראון מפני אדוני אלוהים. And you and your servants will know that before you feared in the presence of Adonai Elohim. I know that you and your servants I know that you and your servants do not yet fear God. Interesting. והפשתה והשעורה נאוכחתה כי השעור אביב והפשתה גבעול. And the flax and the barley nuchata were struck because the barley was fresh and the flax was budding. Vehachita and the wheat, kusemet is spelled emer apparently. Lo nuku ki afilo tiena. But the wheat and the emmer were not struck because they were not yet, or because they were still ripe, or they were late. Vayetze Moshe me'im paro et ha'ir, vayifros kapayav el Adonai, vayachadelu hakolot v'habarad, umatar lo nitach harza. And Moses went out from the presence of Pharaoh and the city, and he spread out his hands to Adonai, and he ceased the thunder, and the hail did not rain anymore upon the earth. Vaera paro ki chadal hamatar vehabarad ha vehakolot vayosef lechato vayachaver v'bohu ve'avadav. And Pharaoh saw that the raining of the hail had ceased, and that the voices, or that the thunder, the thunder had, and also the thunder had ceased, and his heart got heavy again, and he, as did him and his servants. Vayechezak leparo velo shilach et bnei Yisrael ka'asher diber Adonai beyad Moshe. And his heart was strengthened, and Pharaoh's heart was strengthened, and he did not let the people of Israel go, as he had said. As Adonai had said, or had said through Moses. So just real quick before I forget, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. All right. So, any thoughts before we close out?
No, nothing a whole lot.
Yeah, because I just realized I have something in like about 3 hours, and so I'm going to try to take a nap before that. Obviously, it's not really full sleep, but better than nothing. Anyway, on that note, we finished this chapter, and so that means we are on to the next one next time, and that is Parsha Bo. There's no Parsha Peep, but there is a Parsha Bo. And on that note,
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read them. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay? We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. what the world